I call the meeting to order at 6:38. I'm going to just take a moment. I wanted to introduce everybody to Katie Berry. Katie's our new Housing Authority representative. And we are happy to have her, especially tonight when she's our quorum maker.
Right.
So Katie, if you want to just take a couple seconds and introduce yourself, that would be great.
Sure. Yep, I'm Katie Berry. I live right on Richards Road. I'm on South Borough Housing. I'm somewhat new there, and now I'm here. I work for the town in the select board office and the treasurer collector, and just ready to get more engaged and help make this town even greater than it already is. So it's great to see you guys.
Awesome. All right. That being said, I hope everybody was able to access the Dropbox. That was the one technical feat that I managed to accomplish. I was trying to send everybody one email with everything and it wouldn't let me send the PDF. It kept giving me this error message and I just said, I'm done. We're doing a Dropbox and it seemed to have worked. So I'm glad. So going.
I love the Dropbox. That was so easy and yeah.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Kristen. Again, I gave it my best shot and I was hoping, thank goodness Ellen responded first and let me know that it was working and I did do it correctly. So that being said, first item is updating the application handbook. Grant, can you bring that up?
Yes.
Thank you. So the copy that's in the box, I highlighted some things. And I'll just say that as Grant got to it. So if you saw some items in red, those were just some things we certainly definitely needed to take care of.
Yeah, sorry. I had a track changes copy and I realized I didn't keep your version, so I'm just getting it again.
Hey, I don't care for whatever version you want, it all works.
Um,
It all works, Grant. Mine was just, like I said, I highlighted, so we can go with any copy. Perfect. Okay, so as just for Katie's reference, so last year, Ben created this application handbook. And it was very helpful to us, but as we went through the season and like with the trust, we didn't really account in the handbook. And it made it really tough when applications go later than we normally would do them. And obviously it was a great exception and we're glad that we did that. But we just thought we would take a look at the handbook now that a year has gone by and see if there are things that we wanted to update on it. So one of the things I had under the committee, the comprisal is the South Borough Housing Opportunity Partnership Committee. That's gone. So what, Ellen, I thought I would ask you specifically, so I make sure that we don't put the wrong name in. What would you like that to be?
What would I like it to be, or what is it? The technical name is the Board of Trustees
Okay.
of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Okay.
do you want me to do track changes?
Oh, yeah, sure. Grant gets the award.
Actually, so I think I had that on my track change copy, so I'm gonna just.
Beautiful.
Share
So
my
why don't
track
you just
changes.
share your
Okay.
copy and we'll just go from there, Grant.
Okay.
And people can jump in as they see things that they wanted to add as well. So, or to change. I didn't have a ton of stuff. So, but we'll go through it. Okay. Beautiful.
Please, sorry.
Is it the Affordable Housing Trust Fund or just the Affordable Housing Trust?
I think it's fund.
That's what I thought. I wasn't sure.
Too many words. Okay.
Lots of words.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Can you add fund after trust, Grant?
Yes.
So good. Okay.
And then just as designated at the end of that sentence is designated by the trust.
Oh, yes. I like that. Good job.
Okay, great.
Okay, so was there anything else, Grant? Did you have anything else on that page?
Nothing on that page, no.
Okay, Kristen, did you have anything else on that page?
I did not.
Okay, and Ellen?
No.
Freddie? No, okay. All right, let's go to page 2. I had nothing here. Grant, it looks like you did. CPC.
Yeah, 2 minor things. Well, I'm sharing it, you can see that, but
Yeah, sorry.
we technically sponsor the warrant articles instead of forwarding it to the body.
Okay,
so I changed that, but,
I'm good with that.
okay.
Kristen, are you good with that as well?
Yes, Sam.
Where were you?
Page 2. They're not listed at the bottom. It's under, just before 2.0.
Yeah,
Freddie
three,
Grant's got
like
their-
3 paragraphs above it.
Right, it says, once the CP has voted on a slate of projects to recommend, as well as specific dollar amounts, it forwards these to the community's legislative body.
Yeah, I don't think. You were asking for it to be sponsored? Yeah, 'cause they are CPA articles, sorry. So excuse my stopping. Okay, I know it
Is
gets
that-
confusing because of the applicant's project, but the CPC does sponsor.
Okay,
Yeah.
It is your warrant article, and that's always the confusion people have.
okay.
Okay.
And then the only other minor thing I think I had was,
Oh, registries,
Is it
not
it is-
registries. Yeah, I think
it
it's
is-
registry. Hold on.
well, because there's the county, each county has a registry of deeds, I think. But are they collectively the registries?
I don't know that they're the registries.
Yeah.
No, it says contact your local registry of deeds.
Okay.
That, this is from the Mass Land Records website.
Okay, I'll change that then.
Okay,
And that is it for me.
or we could say the Commonwealth's, go back up, sorry, Grant. The Commonwealth, yeah, it has a, you know, an S on the end of Commonwealth, so that signifies more than one. The apostrophe S. Right before that, Grant.
Okay,
Please say from the Commonwealth, instead of just the Commonwealth, it means more than one, so I think that's registry is fine.
okay.
Kristen, you good?
Yeah, I'm not sure I followed that very last point, but I don't think that's important if you guys are good.
No, it's not, it was just me rambling. It's allowed.
Okay.
Okay,
Did you just say what number you're on now?
we're going on to the third page.
Sorry, I had one more minor.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ellen,
No,
sorry about that.
When you
Um,
say third page, you mean,
If you look at the document I gave you,
yeah,
handbook is first page, second page, third page.
so you're talking about not front and back.
So it's
Yeah.
2.0 applying for CPA funds.
So.
That's
This is first page, this is second page,
Okay.
this is third page.
Okay. All right,
and
all
that's
right.
okay. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so just under 1.2.4. The second sentence, the aim of this review process is to ensure the project meets the requirements of the CPA legislation. I think it should be and guidance from DOR. And to select the most compelling projects. So we have two and
That's great.
Sorry, so just add and, is that right?
just and.
Yep.
Yeah.
With the comma or without?
The
The
So
Oxford
get
comma?
rid of the, I do like an Oxford comma, but. Post that on.
Is that,
So,
okay, so just and guidance from DOR.
yeah. and
Okay.
get rid of the, yep, perfect.
I
Go ahead,
had one,
Kristen.
I had one thing for this section, more a suggestion for discussion. In the third paragraph, we kind of go from like, we're gonna put it in the warrant article, and then we jump to after funding is awarded, but do we need a sentence just to say at town meeting, you know, the citizens will vote, it requires a, you know, X percentage in favor if funding is awarded by town meeting? Because we forget, like, a lot of people don't get how town meeting works. So it's not just like, oh, if you get on the warrant, you're gonna get the funding awarded, like, it still has to be voted on by the citizens.
So changing after funding to if funding might be a good start for that. And then also adding
Yeah.
another sentence.
Yeah, like
I-
to secure funding, the article must pass town, yeah,
Is it always a 50% vote?
No,
No, I know, it's, I don't know.
can we just stop because it's not, I don't think you want to say funding is awarded, projects are approved.
yeah. That's kind of the point I'm going to, like, we should get
think
a
it's
little bit
better
more
to say-
specific.
If project is approved.
Because town meeting doesn't hand the funds over, because you have the, you know, under the guidance of the CPC, it's not, people think that they make, when it's approved, that all that money just goes directly to the applicant, and that's not how the CPC, manages it.
What about if a project is approved by a vote of town meeting?
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that, because I think the details that Freddie's talking about are
Yes.
covered a little bit later.
Yeah.
I like Kristen's clarification.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Does that work for you, Kristen?
Yes, it does.
Okay,
I, sorry to be jumping in this late, but under 12, 1.124. The language, and I don't have it in front of me, but from the, what the duties of the CPC are, it talks about getting input from the community. It's not just, doesn't meet the requirement, and then if it does, the CPC will approve it
Mhm.
and make it compelling. You're taking a lot of input from the townspeople and other committees and commissions on the best projects for the town. Isn't there something that should be said about that?
So there is the sentence about the yearly public
Yes.
forum to get input from the general public.
under the first bullet point.
It does, but it starts out the duties. We accept the aim of the review process. It doesn't talk about including the input from the public forum and town boards and committees and it sort of says finally,
What about the CPA also requires instead of finally?
Or moving, I think, you're saying moving this bullet point up into its own small paragraph at the start or something.
but it's also besides the public forum, you do get a lot of, like you send projects back to town boards and committees, right? So you try, it's like just maybe a simple sentence that the Community Preservation Committee interacts with various town boards, committees, and the public on determining best projects. Something like that. And there's actual language in the legislation that talks about it.
So let me ask you though, Freddie, what outreach other than asking them to come to the forum do we get from boards and committees?
Well,
I'm just
supposedly-
asking. I'm just asking.
every historical project goes back to historical commission. Do you support it? And what we have done in the past is if it's an open space project, you want the open space commission to weigh in.
So then do we want to say representative committees or something?
As we talk about all of the specific committees, when we talk about the eligibility for different projects.
Yeah.
How the historical commission's involved in the historical projects and opens, like.
So this
each
is more than,
relevant.
it's more the feel good component of this, being
Yeah.
a collaborative, working with, and
Yeah, like support community outreach to help educate about the proposal and collect, opinions of impacted groups or something like that.
I don't even know where you would put that.
we're talking under duties of the committee.
I understand, but I'm just
If we go to
trying
the
to see where it
IGR,
ties into.
You're supposedly, the committee
So
does,
maybe we move up, Grant, like you said, the yearly public forum, that starts our year realistically. That's the first thing we do is we have the form and then the applications are available after that. Does that make sense to anybody? I mean, I don't know. I just solicited opinion or conduct a public forum
yeah, that's good. I think that would do it. You solicit public opinion,
and public and committee
and views
board
of-
committee and commission, because we do ask if anybody's got a project.
boards, committees, nonprofits.
Well, we don't solicit
And-
necessarily to nonprofits, but we do to
That's-
boards and committees. We send
Okay.
out an email.
Yeah.
So,
Shall solicit potential projects from.
Yeah.
The public,
how about
And-
potential projects?
town
Or,
boards and committees.
that's fine. Yes,
Just want,
does that meet what you were looking for, Freddie?
it's good enough. It's good.
And then add the conduct a yearly. Move that up and,
Yeah, you kind of want to put that you don't operate in a vacuum.
okay,
You're just checking off boxes. Certainly that's not your process.
all right. Helen, how's that look?
That works.
Okay, Grant?
shall's too legal? Should I just do solicits?
Yeah, exactly. I know, we don't like the word shall.
Yeah.
Solicits, I like that. Kristen, your thoughts?
No, I'm good with this.
Okay, Kate, I keep leaving you out of this.
No,
Sorry.
it's okay. I'm actually new here. but-
I just don't want to overwhelm you either.
No, I just want to ask, like,
Yes.
I love this. I tried to do this down at the ZBA, when I was down there a while ago, and I found that I got bogged down because there's so many, like, well, it could go this way. There's an exception here, and this law says this. So who's our audience here? Is it anybody who wants to, apply?
Yeah,
And just give
an
them a message?
application. So this is it. So if somebody wants to do an application,
Yeah,
the first thing we recommend is they look at the handbook, and this guides them through that process
okay.
to actually doing the application.
But additionally, it's an official document of the committee that you want anyone reading it to understand how you operate
How it works.
and that you're friendly and open for input.
Excellent.
Are we good with that page, everybody?
Yes, I think so. That works.
All right, next.
So just at the top here, we said up above, projects must serve a public good.
Yeah.
Or something, so I thought that we should encourage those contemplating the projects in the 4 categories from that serve a public good.
Yeah, that's great, Grant.
Okay.
Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, does anyone else, like, did you have any edits or,
Not till a little later.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yep.
just let me know, I'm just kind of scrolling through. So this is just, determining project eligibility, we
yeah.
talked about,
Sorry, Grant, I did have something for preparing the application package.
okay, yep.
I mean, shouldn't reviewing this entire document just be a requirement, not strongly advised?
Where's that?
First sentence under 2.1. Thing is,
Yeah.
Kristen, we can make it a requirement, but that doesn't mean somebody's really gonna read it. They're gonna tell you they. did.
Yeah, it's just weird. It seems strange to me that we just, if we're gonna even put that line in there,
Okay,
rather
I
than
mean-
strongly advised, I just say, is required. To your point,
If
we
you
can't
want-
audit it, but it,
But I would have a
Nick-
box up, shall.
what if though, we say that it's required? So is that saying we're gonna turn down an application if they don't do this?
Yeah, we don't have much.
Yeah, there's no real.
If we want to
rights.
be real sticklers, we could turn the handbook into part of the application, so it turns into a 29-page application. You have to read
But
through all,
I
you have to
think-
read through all the requirements of the committee before getting.
How about it doesn't mean they're gonna do it
Yeah.
either, so,
Lisa?
yes.
yeah, it doesn't mean they're gonna do it,
You add a
but
checkbox to the application that says,
That's
have you
an
read,
idea.
have you read the handbook?
That's actually a good idea. So I'm
And then-
gonna make it note. Go ahead, Kristen.
just because
Kristen-
we've had problems with people who approach us and seem to have not read the document, so we end up wasting time. And I'm concerned that the current wording makes this document seem like kind of like a nice to have, like, oh, you should, but, so that was part of my logic as well.
So would you be okay with adding on the application itself, leaving it this way? And then adding in the application, adding a box that they have to check that they read it?
I would say prior to applying, the applicant will be required to read through this entire document. And then you have the checkbox.
Okay,
And if they check it, that they have, and it becomes obvious they haven't, it's, you don't have any problem with denying an application because they're not up to snuff, right? Where it says you must have this. They should have read it and been aware.
all right.
Should we have I know we're not talking about the application, but should we have like an acknowledgement, almost, I have read and understand
Yeah.
So we want.
the terms of the,
Or-
handbook or.
On the application, you mean? Yeah, when we get, I made a note. We'll
Okay.
talk about it when we get to the application.
So strongly advised or required or recommended or.
Recommend.
I like
Kristen,
required. I like straight to, if we're gonna have them now check something off, like, I don't understand why we wouldn't require it. Again, I'm not
Okay.
also married to this. If, it just, if someone disagrees, I'm fine with that too.
I just worry there's no teeth behind it. We require it, but if they don't read it, what are we gonna do? other than deny an application, and I can't even imagine denying an application
Yeah.
because somebody didn't read the handbook.
Yeah, but I don't know,
I
I
think it's
like,
stronger than advise. I mean,
Okay.
that's all.
I'll go with what
But-
everybody wants, but
yeah, I think it just gives us a little backup of if there's a pretty clear issue with the application to say,
Okay.
this is what's laid out in our handbook.
required it is.
You know, it's 14 pages. It's not with a cover page. Like, I feel like it's not that big of an ask for people to read the instructions.
Okay. Grant, you good with that too?
I am, I guess,
You're asking for $1 million.
is it required that they do it before actually applying or just during the process? I'm not really sure.
Well, if they're gonna check
exactly.
on the
Yeah.
application, a box, then they,
Yeah. it should
hopefully,
be-
if they
okay,
didn't do it, they'll go and do it at that point.
So I'm fine with it.
Okay,
Katie?
Sounds
Okay.
good.
okay, required it is, Kristen,
Thank you.
no problem.
Anything, anyone else have anything on 2.1 or earlier?
No.
Okay.
I had one question.
Yeah.
Because the public forum is televised, I mean, recorded, wouldn't it be bad to strongly recommend that they attend and or watch it online and they can find it on your webpage? The recording.
I would never require somebody to watch it though.
I think that's in the application, isn't it?
Why not?
Oh, just my personal. Again, just a personal, I'm looking.
I wasn't saying require, I said, it's recommended that you watch it.
I thought that was in the application. Maybe I'm
I'm looking.
misremembering.
Familiar yourself with the handbook, the notification. Well, we can look when we get to,
Yeah, I'm actually not seeing it. Sorry.
yeah, I'm not either, so,
We do reference the handbook in the application. but-
okay.
Okay.
Or
so-
maybe just if you're not comfortable recommending it, suggest that it's an available resource.
So don't we have at the end? No, it's the end of the application. So you wanna put that in the handbook, that,
You have an annual presentation that has valuable information on how to prepare an application.
so maybe just add it,
I think we could, I don't know, there's the link in this section to the CPC website.
maybe we just
I
put
think
the
we can also
form.
just say, a recording of CPC's annual forum and slides with additional instructions on filling out the application are also available and recommended to be reviewed. It's weirdly phrased, but something.
Wait, what was it? A recording of the annual form and what?
And
Application instruction.
application instructions
Or,
like shared during the forum.
Yeah.
Are available.
and we'll just make sure.
You want to say including application instructions, because it's not additional to the form, it's part of the form.
We do have a resources page at the end too. We could link to it there. On the final page.
Oh, at the back, that's what I was looking for. Yeah,
Kind of nice to know that there's this resource up front before you start filling it out and at the end.
Oh, yeah, we do have the video. Oh, that was only on community housing by Shelley Gorin. So not the,
so we can add.
oh, that
we
was
can-
part of the forum though, but not the,
We can
That
add
was
it
a
there
separate
too.
part of the.
yeah, that's right, okay.
We can add it there too, Grant.
Okay.
A link, just make a note, make a link, add a link to the,
2025, I think.
Yes. Because we will have that for people to apply, right? So, okay, thanks. Okay, so don't add anything up above. For also add,
okay, just leave it up above as well, I think.
Yeah, I like that sentence.
On the CPC website, and maybe Grant add, and link provided under the resource page at the end or something. I mean, if you're gonna put a link there anyway, you might as well
Yeah.
reference them to go back there. They might, who knows, they may see something else that might interest them as well.
Resources, I can't remember.
Yeah, resources. Perfect.
Back up. Okay,
Yeah, okay. Okay,
okay. Anything else?
anybody got anything else? Ellen, I know you had stuff, is it further down?
Yeah, in 2.2.1, if we're ready. for
I
that.
have,
Yep. Go
I have
ahead.
something for 2.2.
Okay,
Okay.
So for 2.2, just that first sentence, I just think has to be wordsmith. It's just kind of, the word which is kind of all over. I just, we don't need to necessarily do it here, but I just think we need to like, are very strict about, you know, projects that are eligible for CPA funding, period. Every year, the CPC reviews projects that may benefit the town or community organizations within the town. And then actually, I don't, didn't quite understand the, but which are not eligible at the end of that sentence. So every year, the CPC reviews projects that may benefit the town or community organizations within the town, but which are not eligible.
so that instead of which,
Maybe you could say
Yeah,
applications are submitted for projects which do not meet the requirements and are therefore not eligible.
reviews projects that do not meet,
That may not meet, because you don't know initially.
It's saying they're not eligible, so you know by the time you know they're not eligible.
this is essentially us saying we reject a lot of applications because people
Yeah,
don't know
okay.
what they're doing with that, right?
And I had one other question. Do you want to spell out for the novice? DOR,
I think that's-
and then I was going to suggest for CPA, maybe say the enabling legislation of the CPA.
So we referenced DOR up above, 1.2.2.
Yep.
I don't think we need to, actually do it
Right there, yeah,
1.1.
yeah,
So I think we're fine there.
I think so.
I'm sorry.
Never be sorry.
So. Then never mind, you do it with a CPA. I just think. People don't understand that often that this Community Preservation Act is legislation. And even though it says they think that's what we have, but not that there was legal requirements in the legislation. That's why. We would use the term the enabling legislation requirements or something. Or you can just leave it as is.
I mean, so all three of those things are state requirements, right? So you could say state requirements, including the Community Preservation Act, DOR regulations, and the anti-independent are very strict about. Does that clarify?
Think so? You kind of have to look at it like somebody who doesn't know any of this is reading it. And
Spell out CPA? Probably not.
No. No. All right, is that it for that paragraph for everybody?
I
Yeah.
have one other suggestion, but you can also tell me to just stop. But should we say, instead of are very strict, should we say the Commonwealth's anti-aid amendment adheres strictly about project eligibility for CPA funding? Like are very strict, that's just one suggestion. We don't have to make it, it's obviously minor.
how about have definite requirements or
Yeah, like, I don't know, the term are very strict sounds like. I just say, yeah, they're very you know, that they are not inflexible, right? Or their requirements are non-negotiable or something like that. Not that they're very strict.
I wouldn't
Like-
say that.
And you know,
Oh, you're a wordsmith, you and Grant.
if I'm getting too nitpicky, let's move on in the interest of time.
you
Yeah.
could say that the CPC is required to adhere to. Legal requirements.
I don't know. I guess I'm ambivalent. I don't see what that
I don't
does
either.
exactly, but,
That's fine. So let's move
maybe
on.
I'm missing it. Oh, this should be that or eligible, right?
Yeah.
But maybe I didn't understand, Kristen.
It's me being nitpicky. Don't worry about it. You're right. It's not trivial or non-trivial.
Okay, is everybody good with that then?
Well, I have one thing which I think is a broader discussion point,
Sure.
about kind of dates and timing. I know that we talked about that we would want potentially a two-part process about doing a determination, a determination of project eligibility, having a deadline earlier for that, so that we don't kind of string applicants along.
Right,
So
so
6 months into the process and tell them that they're not eligible.
I had thought, so I had actually put grant further within. Upon resolution of all outstanding questions and concerns, the committee will conduct a vote. This is much further in the document.
Okay,
Will conduct a vote to recommend or not recommend no later than 12/31.
so that's to recommend, I saw this, so that's
Okay.
to actually recommend it to town meeting though, right?
To make a decision whether we're gonna fund it or we're not gonna recommend it.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I think what I was interested in is.
Yeah.
Is this eligible for CPA funding? You know, is it an allowable use? Is it, there's only 4 allowable uses, right? Is this like a totally egregious project that's not anything that will actually serve the public benefit? Like, we can just get rid of that immediately almost, right? So we kind of have that, what do we call it, internal technical review meeting.
Right, in September.
And so,
Yeah.
but I don't think we actually take a vote at that time about this meets the requirements of.
We
what an
used to.
application
We used to.
should have, and then later on you can say, hey, is it actually something that we want to do? Like, later on, we get into the qualitative part about, do we want to actually fund this, right?
If I may, Lisa,
Yeah.
you had me ask Stuart this question, and he said he was surprised that that wasn't your first thing you do when you look at the applications. 2 piles, does it meet the requirements? Maybe 3, maybe look into it more and definitely not. And so that that the applicant is not thinking it's moving forward when it can't, and that the committee is not spending their time on a project that can't be funded. But the initial review for questions and, concerns, that is when you typically, we used to typically say it doesn't meet the requirements, can't move forward.
So
So
Grant, where,
if I'm understanding correctly, what we're saying is, and I like this idea a lot, is we should be implementing more toll gates throughout the process, so we're not wasting time on either the applicants or our side. But, did you make this toll gate? Like, does it generally fall into the requirements of CPA funding? Okay, you passed that toll gate. Now start building out your case. I like that idea a lot.
so Grant, where would you suggest putting that? Do you have a place in mind for it within this section under 2.2?
Well, I was thinking this is the first mention of determining project
Yeah.
eligibility, so we could mention it there, but maybe. So I was thinking we should do dates throughout, so you added December 31st,
Right.
which I think is fine. We have the application date, which I might want to also talk about, if that's a good date or whatever, but.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do the table or something at the end, here, like dates, but I was thinking, I added the comment to this section, so. That's when we mention it, but it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be here, it could be somewhere else.
Do you want it here though? Because it talks about that, we're reviewing the applications which, here to explain how their application. I'm just looking at the chart, but would some of this fall under the chart, Grant? Would it be better to put it under allowable project categories? Do you think? Because isn't that, again, correct me if I'm wrong, is that some of what you're referring to? Is, for instance, if something doesn't meet the requirements of open space or historical, that we would just say no at that point? So, or are you saying be more detailed, like a project that doesn't have everything that would need sign-offs that it would need? I'm just thinking, where would be the
Yeah.
best place to add something like that? I like adding it and putting dates, kind of pounding the dates through without, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, well, so this is I guess I'll just scroll through here. So this is the
Sure.
applying for CPA funds, and then what does it get into? It gets into,
Allowable project categories.
so
Or do we add
I
that in
think
every
so.
section?
what, so I think the way I read this was, we will, so every year the CPC reviews projects that may benefit the town or community. Oh, sorry, applicants should be prepared to explain it. Then, the CPC will vote by, X date, to determine whether or not, it's eligible.
Yeah,
Okay.
why don't we do like a September 30th date, Brad? To do the initial, I mean, we do the initial review the beginning of September. And then if there's something that maybe we want more information on before we make a decision, that still gives us a small window to just give me your thoughts on
Yeah, I
where
think
you were
that-
heading. I mean, this
that
was
would
your
work.
thoughts, so.
I did later on, I did want to talk, well, I guess it's me now, about the August, what is it, August 31st deadline?
Yeah.
Whether or not that works with people's like vacation schedules, that kind of thing.
Okay,
Maybe we should leave it open into September a bit further is kind of what I was thinking. But I don't know, it's all for discussion. So that was just a thought I had, because I know people are away, or
how late into September? I'm just trying to think if we
Yeah.
need to have everything done to vote by December. It's a small window with the holidays and everything. For us, I'm just thinking for us, not about
Yeah.
the applicant. What would, unless you left it open to maybe second week in September?
something like that, then we could,
Okay.
because the technical review is really just one meeting. I guess
Correct.
if there's a tricky one, maybe it will take two. So it would essentially mean a busy September for us, right? To
Yeah.
review the applications.
Yeah.
Maybe we vote on eligibility by October 1st, first week of October or something, or I don't know. But it was just a thought, because even if we do that, I still think we'd be ahead of where we've been in previous cycles.
Okay,
Where we're determining it in March that, hey, it doesn't actually qualify, or
so do you think it's September 15th, leaving the application open, that's a big enough window? Because then we could still schedule a meeting after that.
I think so, but that's
Okay.
just because I know that people often complain that town government does things over the summer and like people aren't looking and all that stuff, and like
Okay.
especially this is the only application window that we have for people to put it in, that maybe we shouldn't do it strictly over the summer.
Okay.
That's just-
Kristen, your thoughts on September 15th?
I completely agree with everything Grant and you just discussed.
Ellen, you good?
Yep.
Okay, so why don't we do that then, Grant?
Okay.
September 15th. And then, we still want to add something about the first review by, I think, October 1st. I think we could still make that window. If we meet the week after, whenever September, 15th falls on.
Yeah.
If we meet either that week or even the week after, I think we'll have
Okay.
enough time. Again, thoughts from everybody. To do it, just a brief cursory technical review of it. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so the CPC will take a vote to determine,
Eligibility,
projects
project, there you go.
be by October 1st. Calendar year or something.
Or do you want to say October 1st or the first week in October? Because depending on October 1st
Yeah.
falls, it could be a Sunday or a Saturday.
Yeah.
By the first week in October, that kind of gives us a little bit of window,
Later on, I think there was some language about the dates that gives us like an out.
Okay.
So maybe we want to add that, but I can't remember what that is right now, so we can return to it maybe.
Ellen, you good with that? Yep. Kristen?
Yeah, the only comment I was going to make, and Grant, I'm not sure if this is what you were alluding to, but do we need to give ourselves some leeway in the event that I would not expect? I've never seen it, but where we might have a disagreement between the committee on project eligibility. Again, I've never seen that. It's pretty cut and dry. But do we not have to worry about that because that's such an edge use case, or should we put some sort of caveat in here?
I mean. I think this is for like our internal timing, right? So we can, I think, soften it and. For us, this
Yeah.
part, right? So it's just, I
Yeah.
think, to give the applicant a sense of.
Okay.
We
Okay.
will endeavor to take a vote.
No, I think we'll take a vote. I mean, it's gonna, if we take a vote the first week in October, it's gonna go one of three ways. It's a yes, it's a no, or it's a tie, which I don't see that
We could-
happening, you know?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
okay.
Okay.
All right, Ellen, so we're good with that section then?
Yes.
You good?
Yeah, I'm just thinking that it likely would be a unanimous decision, yes or no,
You would think.
because if there's any question, you need to figure out what the question is, because it's pretty black and white. The legal requirements, I think, so,
Okay.
not that that's in there, but I'm,
Well, we could say. We will hold a meeting to determine it. We don't have to say that we will actually vote, because, I mean, we want to soften it a bit. But yeah,
I wasn't trying to soften, I was just saying it's
Yeah.
not gonna be a 2 to 3 vote. I can't imagine that the,
Right.
either it's pretty much either it is or it isn't, and if you have questions, I think you would go further and.
Right,
And
exactly.
then reach out to the applicant and.
Yeah.
You know,
okay,
So, well,
I'm just getting.
So-
what you wanted.
that brings another question then.
Yeah.
So if we make it, say that we'll take a vote to determine project eligibility, what if there's something we hold off on? And then we want to get more information, and then now we've extended that window potentially. It may go further as we wait to get some information, so yes.
so
I think
maybe,
you can do that. Yes or no, and then there's the need more information. You don't have to put that in there. That's.
What about we add, the CPC will take a vote to determine project eligibility the first week in October. And do some caveat,
And communicate that to the applicant.
right, unless what, further information is required or, I don't know. That's just a
I
suggestion.
wouldn't actually put that in there because that offers that there's like wiggle room to the applicant, or I think that's more for us to. Actually,
So
never
you-
mind, take that back. That works.
Yeah.
That works.
No, it's fine, Kristen, I mean, I'm fine either way. I
No,
just-
that works. I'm overthinking it. That works.
I'm just gonna jump down real quick, because I thought that there's some vote language, down below, in the December 31st vote. I can find that real quickly, but I thought there was some, maybe we can just mimic the language of that. I can talk to that is.
Katie, our meetings aren't usually this dry. Really?
I'm learning, this is good, this is good.
Okay, never mind.
Okay,
So I think I would be your audience for this because I'm green, so it's good to know.
well, jump in if you see anything. Okay,
So it
so
lets you know our process very well.
that's right, yeah, you're gonna know it. Okay, so we're good with that section then?
Yeah, I think if we're gonna be altering dates throughout, we might want to return to all the dates at the end, just
Yeah,
to make sure that they all make sense.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, 2.2.1, Ellen.
I promise this will take a lot less time. The second line in there where it says, space, historic preservation, recreation should be and housing.
Oh,
Thanks.
yeah,
Good catch.
perfect.
What did he add?
There was just a word in the wrong place.
Yeah, you should
And-
switch, if you, under 2.2.1, Freddie, it says recreation, second line, recreation, housing, and.
Yeah, shouldn't we call it community housing?
Is that what the, is that
Is that
what's in the
what CPC
IGR? I
calls
can't
it?
remember.
I
It
mean,
is, it's not affordable, just so you know.
It doesn't say.
it doesn't, it just says housing.
I know, but it's community housing, which is a. You know,
What is the
it's not
trust?
just housing, right?
Does the trust just call it housing or?
Yeah, I mean, community housing is specific to CPA language, but throughout we refer to it as both community housing and housing.
So maybe we
So
just
like-
pick one and,
The
Oh,
project's.
sorry, the chart says housing, so stick with the chart,
okay.
Okay.
Okay,
but I'm just letting everyone know it is, you know, technically it's community housing and
Yeah.
that. Not affordable.
I don't need to have my back to you, Freddie.
I
I'm trying
understand
to look
why.
at this as.
I was,
I
I was like, is she mad at me?
I'm trying to look.
I
straight as
understand.
Yeah,
You get a neck ache.
okay, so. One of the things that I'm not sure, I think it's in the application. We should put this in the handbook too, right? The flow chart,
It used to be, I don't know how it
Okay,
got,
so there's a flow chart. I added it. I
is
think
that
I-
the new one?
Yeah, I added it. Oh, I did have it on there. So there's a CPA historic flow chart. And I think we ran into some concerns with this about the votes for historic. This used to be in the application and. So I would suggest whether we add it somewhere within that, it's very clear that. Like for the fire truck, is the resource on the state registry? No, then you come down here and it tells you.
Yeah.
You have to go. So my suggestion would be to add this in. Even as a page
Okay.
after, does that make sense to everybody?
That makes sense.
Kristen, does that make sense? I know you can't see what I have in my hand. It's the, if you go in the Dropbox. It's the historic flow chart and it used to be included. And, for some reason, it's just not. And I think what we had questions with a couple of the projects needing to get historicals vote. This is pretty clear just to have it in. You're muted, sorry.
I was just saying, I see it in the Dropbox and yeah, it's really good. I agree.
Okay, so that actually came from, the coalition's website, so. Okay, so we'll just insert that page in. And was there anything else in 2.2.1?
Not for me. Does anyone else have
I
anything?
have nothing. Kristen,
Nope.
Freddie? Okay. Helen?
Nope.
Okay. All right, let's go to 2.2.2.
Eligibility is spelled wrong, so I caught that.
Oh, yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay. I had nothing in this, Freddie. This is the open space eligibility. Did you have anything? In there? I thought probably everything. Go ahead,
The-
Kristen.
The only thing I had, and I can do this, is is the CPA's definition of open space that we have included like up to date? Have they changed it? Is this something that they change? And that's just a quick check I can do on the CPA and on their website.
Is that, did you include that chart?
Which chart? The one on this one?
This one here, yeah.
Yes, that one's still on there.
So
Yes.
acquisition, creation,
I think that was quoting the IGR.
preservation,
offer.
no support, no refill. Yeah, so I think that's correct.
Okay,
Could be wrong. I think a lot of this was copied and pasted from the IGR,
I think so.
right? So there's an allowable use section in there. Guess we could double check it. It's on our website.
Okay,
Katie, the IGR is the Department of Revenue's recommendation, so this language, Community Preservation Act came out and then there's what, they called it gray areas, and then the Department of Revenue, because it's a tax, that's who oversees this, they come out periodically, not frequently, but periodically with guidance documents of how to interpret the language in there. And that's what you'll hear the committee talk about a lot, IGR.
Okay.
so I did go on our website too. I think, I have a note to upgrade that the one on the website was from 1999, I think it was. There's a 2000.
Really?
Yeah, there's a 2000. I have it saved. Hold on, I
I
found
thought
it.
the 2019 one up.
I
I
think
thought.
2019 was the last one.
Oh, maybe it was, okay,
That's
maybe
the one
I
I
have the
looked
wrong
at.
one then. Hold on. Sorry,
When I said they do it
I thought it was-
periodically, but not often,
saved it, my fault. Maybe it was,
Freddie, when I put the documents on the website for the applications last year, I added to the resources pages. I thought I added 2019. Most recent one.
it's like a long time ago, but for them, it's not, and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was talking to one of the attorneys there once, and they said that they don't write written. They'll give you, when they give you guidance, they won't put it in writing, and then it takes them a long time to put anything in writing. Like this document, but
okay. So Freddie, are you okay with that section? I would imagine, again, you've reviewed it last year.
Yeah.
So, but again, things change, I get that, so. For some reason, I don't know why I thought it was not the most updated.
Yeah, when I
Mr.
just was on there, it's like the 2019.
Is there
Okay,
any kind of land you can think of that's not included here? Because
I'm wrong then.
So it is from the IGR, I believe. I'm reading the IGR.
I'll send it to you, Katie.
Whole thing about aquifers, rechargers, wetlands, farmlands. If it's in that order, then that's a direct quote from the IGR.
it doesn't mention passive recreation under land or recreational use, does it? That must be somewhere else.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, it says
and
provides
so-
opportunities, the first bullet.
Yeah, the first.
Yeah. Just up above it says land for recreational use. That's unfortunate.
Okay. All right, so you're good with that
Yeah,
section overall?
yeah.
Okay. Then,
So
anybody else have anything on that section? And then Grant, I'll come right back to you. Kristen,
I'm good.
Helen,
I'm good.
great.
for each of these, so this is for a comment for open space, recreation and housing. So I know that for the historic, if we jump ahead to the historical paragraph.
Yeah.
There's, at the end, it talks about how it requires a vote from Southborough Historical Commission. And then I know that later on, we talk about that we require input, I think, or something from each of the 4 relevant commissions, recreation, open space. Just a question, do we actually require them to take a vote for non-historic projects? And if so, should we write that here? So, for example, if someone brings a rec project forward, do we want to, or do we currently require that the rec commission actually needs to vote on it, whether or not they approve it or not?
Go ahead, Freddie.
Historically, we did. Because the fact is, why wouldn't the CPC members want to know what the, even though you have a representative, want to know an official position of the commission?
Yeah.
You know, like the Recreation Commission or the Open Space Preservation Commission, and not just one person's view, like to have an official commission perspective, because you don't want to go to town meeting and have, say, the Open Space Preservation Commission get up and say, we don't support this. I mean, and what we always said was that, if, I shouldn't say you don't want it, but you'd like to know that it doesn't, the historical requirements for,
Yeah.
a resource, that's a deal breaker if it doesn't meet it.
Yeah.
The recommendations is you want them to take them, you want to have it, but you consider it, but you're not obligated to abide by it. So, for example, if somebody came with an open space project and the Open Space Commission said, no, we don't support this, the CPC could look at it and think, well, from our perspective and our goals, it does meet what we would like to accomplish, so we're going to move it forward.
Yeah,
What about, planning board does this on different things. What about if we just add something in each section that, you know, for open space, you know, must meet with the Open Space Commission and, you know, ask for a letter. You know, whether you're in support of the open spaces in support or not, planning board does it all the time. We write letters for signs and everything else. It doesn't mean that ZBA listens to our recommendation, but I think we should just add it in here under each one of these that.
and I think it might be a bit redundant, because I think we do mention it later, but I just thought that as we're going into each of these sections, we should probably say it.
Agree.
And then be aware, though, that commissions may not meet in the same timeline that you have, so that it wouldn't be a deal breaker. You don't have the letter, you can't move
What
forward.
about we recommend? We recommend that you meet with, under the open space section, we recommend you meet with open space and
And that the CPC will be asking them for their,
feedback. Yeah. What about we do that for each of them, Grant? That's short, it's succinct and, you know,
So just later down in 2.6, we have required review by other town bodies. And call out the different,
oh, we do.
so I think. We need to decide if it's required or recommended. And I think it's fine to say in the sections for each project type. But I think we should just be consistent on.
I think,
So I like the wording of that, because it's that the review is required, but that you are seeking a vote, because you can't force, let's just say there's an obstinate chair or something, you can't force them to. You don't want that chair to be able to kill it by not voting on your article.
But it does say in the section, though, it is important to note that a vote of no support does not prevent the CPC from recommending. You just want it, you know,
Yeah,
so.
so again, I think that it might, oh, sorry, Kristen, go.
I was just saying, I think it's actually really important because, if I think about it, do you know how many times people are out there kind of pitching recreation ideas or how to fix our field ideas? Meanwhile, obviously there are things we've looked at. And so if you don't force and require this review, then the CPC is going to be operating partially blind in that the recreation, in the case of recreation, whatever project that person's requesting, we may have additional information to help make that decision. And it shouldn't be upon the CPC to try to figure that out. So this forces the applicant to take those steps and make sure that recreation is aware of it. And to Grant's point, we can't force a vote, but certainly it would help their case.
So maybe I can copy this sentence.
To each,
To each. Or to these two sentences about does not prevent the recommending the award. of the grant.
yeah, maybe take those and put them under each one, Grant.
Okay, I mean, I know it makes it longer, but
You know what, I think it's a lot clearer. Yeah.
okay,
So, yeah. Okay, so we'll add that under open space, Freddie, and then you're good. Yeah, that's great, Rick. And we'll just add the same thing to historic and
yeah,
recreation.
historic have one already because it's already a legal
Right.
requirement,
Okay,
but the other three,
I'll
okay.
do it under recreation and community housing. That's great.
Um,
My question on community housing, so
Yeah.
under that chart,
Yeah.
2.9.
Yeah.
It had been Shopsy. Should we ask that they go to both the trust and the housing authority?
Yes, I was gonna suggest that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It-
It certainly can't hurt.
Yeah,
It certainly can't hurt.
and I'm sure it could be a joint meeting, so they're not
Yes.
taking
Yeah.
all their time, but.
So
there's
2
different
point,
perspectives.
where was that at? 2 point.
that's 2.2.5.
Okay.
So that's in 2.9 is that little chart, but then if we're adding. Yes,
To each,
yes,
yeah, okay,
sorry. 2.2.5.
okay.
Okay, I see. Under the 2.6. Alan,
Yes,
okay,
So change that to
the
the board of the
Board of
board of the
Trustees.
trustees of the affordable.
And add the Southborough Housing Authority. Why not?
But what is it, the board of trustees? Affordable
Housing.
housing
That's fine.
trust fund, oh, I was really fun. And
Southborough Housing Authority. Perfect.
is that the Southborough Board of Trustees? I mean, not that.
it could be.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so Grant, I would imagine if there's any changes initially to historical section, it comes from you.
I didn't have any,
Okay.
I don't believe, just.
Alan, did you have any?
No.
Kristen, did you have anything for historical?
Nope.
Freddie? No, probably not. If Grant doesn't, so.
Okay, so I added recreation commission to rec, sorry, this is just for me, open
Okay.
space to space. And for housing. That's 2.5. And. It's both the. And then. Oh my
Yes.
God, I have to write those things again.
We can
Just
do
gotta
it
copy
once
and
and then
paste.
call it the trust
Yeah.
or the housing trust.
But just the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Perfect.
Okay.
Grant, thank you for doing this, by the way,
Yeah,
on the
no problem.
fly.
Okay,
Okay,
is that how we want that to?
I'm good.
Okay.
So that takes us to recreation. Kristen, I'll go to you first. Did you have anything under the recreation section?
I don't believe I did.
Ellen?
No, because yeah, we kind of I thought it was, and then if you look at the last bullet and on the list there, that kind of covers us, right? Like,
Yes. Yeah,
so we give
Ellen,
plenty of
mhm.
examples, but we also cover ourselves saying projects that are otherwise eligible. So I think this is good.
Okay, thank you. Grant, did you have anything?
No.
Ready? Nope. Lisa? Nope. Okay. All right, Ellen, I'm gonna come to you first.
I have nothing other than adding that review. So
Okay.
I took care of that.
I had nothing.
I'm sorry, I said that and now I'm changing my mind. My only question is if we want to define low and moderate income housing. So where it says the CPA defines community housing as low and moderate income housing. And the CPA definition of that isn't necessarily the way like other programs define that or what people might assume that is.
Okay,
Could you link to that language? Is that somewhere?
Yeah, I think that's probably the easiest way to do that. Let me.
okay, first meeting, throwing out suggestions, we love it.
I'm waiting to throw that out there.
Cause I know I could fit that in there somewhere.
That's it. You can keep going and I'll send you.
Okay, but there isn't a strict, is there a strict AMI requirement? And is it different than, do they do AMI or?
Sometimes, yeah,
Okay.
it's confusing,
Yeah,
because, different entities have different ways of defining it.
yeah.
Kristen, did I ask you if you were okay with that section?
No, I am good with it.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Jump in if I
Yeah,
bypass you.
that's just it. Don't even worry. I'll jump in if I have anything.
Okay, perfect. All right, we good with that then? That takes us to public versus 2.3. Public versus private projects and the anti-aid amendment. I personally had nothing in there. We'll go down the line, Ellen.
I just had a couple of hyphens that I had, but that's all.
I had a very minor primer thing.
Okay.
The 3-part test. Number 3. The rest was the grant of where the rest
Okay.
of
Okay.
and then I was also just wondering at the end where it talks about the preservation restriction, conservation restriction. I just like underlined or bolded those or something just to
Okay,
stress that is
that's
a
good.
requirement, but it's just my thought.
No, I think that's good. Grant, I'll let you do that first.
What number
I
was
just
that
think-
on?
That's under 2.3, Freddie. Private, sorry, 2.3, yeah, public versus private.
Yeah.
On the back page.
Yeah.
Sorry. No,
I was just curious. Does it state where the 3-part test came from?
I would imagine it comes right from the anti-aid amendment because Ben says that up above. That the
Must
project
comport,
comports with the
which
Massachusetts.
reads in
anti-aid.
part. But there's quotation marks and then it says a 3-part test is used. Does it matter where that came from? Somebody just make it up
I mean,
or
somebody could ask the question, but.
SJC decision perhaps,
Supreme Court
judicial court.
Yeah,
uses the 3-part? That came out of that court case?
They explain it in the IGR. I'll have to go back. I thought it was from a court case, but I could be wrong.
we'll just leave it for now.
Okay.
Okay, and then Grant, if you'll look, that would be great.
Do you want to say if Grant finds it, that it's okay to add it in?
Yep.
After the fact, is that all right,
Yeah.
with you, Lisa?
Yes, because I'm not. Claire didn't have a chance to go through it. She wanted to, so we'll take care of what we want to tonight. And then if Brett or Claire have something else, we'll just leave it open that,
Okay.
we can discuss it. So we can come back. Ready? Greg can
Right.
come back with it still being open.
So take a vote like at our next meeting.
I can't imagine Claire's gonna have much, but she may, and I just want the opportunity to be there for her, because she
Yeah,
did
right.
ask.
It does look like Claire just joined as an attendee.
No. Alright.
I'm not, I can see it.
You're doing
The
it.
document. Hi, Claire.
Hi there. My,
How are you?
my wastewater study committee meeting, met and wrapped up early. So I heard you guys talking about me and I said, I better,
So what we're doing, Claire, is we're halfway through the application handbook. And I said that we made some changes tonight, but I wanted to leave it open, so if you had some changes you wanted to make, you know, that we could still wait to actually take a vote on it. If you wanna stay on, and what we'll do is we'll forward you the changes that we
yeah,
made.
I'm
prior.
just gonna, yeah, I'm just gonna sit here and kind of learn
Okay.
from this process, but thank
Perfect.
you very much.
Okay.
I have a few questions, but, they might not be related to what you're doing. So thank you. I'll sit here and learn.
Okay, how about we'll finish going through this, and then if we don't touch on your questions, you can ask them. How's that? Cause we hopefully will answer them, maybe?
I'm sure you will. No,
Okay.
nothing major.
Okay. All right, Grant, so. That is the end of, so we're on 2.4. And we'll just kind of go down the line again. Alan, did you have anything? No.
Oh, sorry,
Go ahead, Grant.
going
Sorry.
back to 2.3.
Yes.
The. The public, after the kind of three-part test and all of that,
Yeah,
we talk about the preservation restriction is required, the
Yeah.
conservation restriction is required, and the housing stuff. Should those also be moved? I was thinking just organizationally, should those go up into the earlier sections on project eligibility for each of those respective sections? Because essentially, if you're doing a housing, I'm sorry, if you're doing a historical project and you read the historic, what's required for the historic project, it doesn't say that you need a PR. So like,
at the beginning.
Until you go down.
eligibility.
not like out of the historic, like, should we just group all three of those into their respective section, or? Right. Maybe it doesn't
So,
matter.
What number are you on?
I think that makes sense. I
it,
feel
it
like
doesn't
that's-
hurt, it
Yeah.
certainly doesn't hurt.
Okay,
So Freddie, we're taking the. Historical preservation of where the restrictions are required, we're gonna move them up. We're gonna leave them here as well, but we're gonna move them up within the document under eligibility. Is that correct, Grant? So I have this.
so that was my suggestion, because I think a lot, especially with historical and, people don't know that they need a PR, and then.
Yeah.
You know.
Under 2.2, Grant, is that what you're thinking? The beginning at 2.2, or you're going further back?
I was thinking within 2.2.3, maybe, I mean, it really doesn't matter, I guess, but 2.2.3, put the sentence about historic.
Got it, okay, yeah, it's, got it. So Freddie, we're taking it instead of like at the end, putting after the three-part test where it talks about historic building. Preservation restrictions, open space restrictions. We're talking about moving it up within the individual sections prior.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, Grant, I think. Kristen, are you good with that?
Yep.
Claire? I'll just throw it out there in case she wants to.
I'm good. If you guys are good, I'm good.
Okay, okay.
I'm gonna throw something out there.
Yeah.
Is this getting to be, because I think it's important, is it getting to be kind of longer because you're adding more detail?
It is,
So can there be something at the beginning that says, if this is a historical project, see section blah, so you don't have to read open space if it's a recreation project, or, you know, I'm just throwing it out there as a consideration to direct, people to certain chapters related to your specific category. And can it be divided up that way?
I think,
You're asking people to read the whole thing, and some people might just, if they're, say it's.
how do you require them to read it then, if you're only gonna require them to look at a certain section? I think that was Kristen, I'll let you address that, because I know
I'd
you
say
were the one.
I think let's finish editing it and then see where we end up. And then we
Yeah.
can kind of relook at that question.
I know,
Just
'cause
consider it
it's
not for
8
tonight,
o'clock
but for your
already,
final
and
one.
we have a lot more things to get through, so,
Maybe
Um,
table of contents.
yeah,
Put-
yeah,
put-
table of contents at the
Yeah,
beginning.
put that for the next time.
But we have to get this done before the forum, so we have to keep that in mind as well, so maybe, we just agree to create a table of contents.
Mhm.
I mean, we don't have to do it right this minute.
Yeah,
but-
that works for me. I think.
Okay, let's do that,
I just had a comment.
okay. All right, so we were finishing up 2.4. Kristen, did you have anything under 2.4?
I had one comment that again, oh, hold on, moving,
I think we're at 2.3.
Whatever.
Just finished 2.3.
Oh, okay.
sorry, can you keep scrolling down a little bit?
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
He's just finishing something, Kristen.
Okay,
I had highlighted it, so I went on highlight it, so.
right there,
Doesn't look-
stop right there, right, and actually in 2.3, I had one question. And again, it might be getting nitpicky, except I remember having a lot of questions about this as we were preparing for the last, the last round of warrant articles. The last line, additionally, if the property is sold, the proceeds must be returned to the CPA fund. Proceeds, I mean, implies it, but should we say like total? Because I know that was a source of confusion for me at first, like, do you just have to return what the CPA funds funded? No, if you sell for profit, those proceeds also must be returned to the CPA, correct? And
Sure.
is that clear? Yeah, and again, I don't know if we need to make it clear here because it's written into the, bylaws, but
I think you only get back what you put in.
Yeah,
I don't think
Really?
you can,
Yeah,
but let's put that on a note to double check.
I just remember discussing it a lot when we were going through the Affordable Housing Trust Fund
Yeah.
discussion.
And we added a paragraph in there to that effect, I think, right? Into that warrant article.
Yeah, I
It
think we
was
did.
about getting the funds returned, but I don't know that it's
over and
said.
above.
Let's just double check that, 'cause I don't have a firm memory on that. And because then you have to get into the thing like, say you have the property and then another organization puts funds in to improve it. You don't get the return on that.
Yeah, I think it's, to your point, I think it's worth a revisit of that discussion.
Okay.
All right,
And if we're not certain amongst ourselves, then it would beg that maybe we need to expand upon it, like, once we, get on the same page, expand on it slightly here.
is that Freddie, is that a coalition question or is that a town council question?
I think we
let's
already,
just get,
I think we already have the answer. We just need to go back and look. There was a lot going on when we asked that.
Okay.
And if not, I can ask the coalition. How's that?
Yeah.
If it was in the Warren article,
it's like, I can't imagine
didn't,
if the trust does something that CPC is gonna make money off the proceeds,
yes,
Um,
that is my understanding.
yeah.
The CPA gets back.
what the CPA put in.
But then
That
the
was my-
trust, gets back the. Okay, yeah, so
Yes.
anyways,
Okay, but we'll check on that, Kristen.
not a bad thing, because they have to use it.
Yeah.
Use it on housing.
Okay, Grant, did you have anything on 2.4?
Yeah, 2.4, maybe a larger conversation. I don't know if we want to get into it tonight, but I think we ran into, sorry, can you scroll down? I think we ran into this issue during this process, but I think this applies more generally about kind of who is eligible to apply for funds. The whole discussion of site control, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. For me, and I think I said this at the time, but I am not, right now, I'm not convinced that for town-owned property, that the applicant must have site control. I think that the way that our process works now, essentially, the select board is the only one who has site control. And if you require that the person get a select board approval ahead of time, then that kind of circumvents our process of, CPC should be the one to recommend. I think we're essentially delegating our authority to the select board.
I checked that out with Stuart. He said, no, you absolutely cannot fund a project that does not have a town-owned property that does not have select board approval. Legally, you can't do it.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have if you're talking about authority, CPC has authority to look at projects. And you could have a discussion with someone under another thing, but to actually look at a project with a goal towards approving one, only the select board can give you can't take their authority, and their authority is over ownership of all the town property.
So I don't understand this applied again to that project, but also to others. Why? Just for example, applicant let's just say it's a citizen, right? They come to us and they think about this great idea for, I don't know, dog park on like a new rec project or something. We require them to go to Recreation Commission. Again, this is initiated by a citizen who just wants a good thing for the town, right? They go to Recreation Commission thinks it's a great idea, they approve it. Then they come to us, we think it's a great idea, we approve it.
Yeah.
It goes to town meeting thinks it's a great idea, town meeting approves it. I think the way I see it is select board at that time. That's when the site control really matters, is once you have the funds and once you're kind of at that stage. I think right now, select board, by requiring site control early in the application process, is essentially, we're delegating that our decision-making authority over the project to whether or not the select board supports or doesn't support it. And then by the time that, let's just say they don't like the idea of a dog park or something, town meeting never gets a chance to vote on it.
So my only concern with that is, Grant, is we could spend a lot of time moving forward, and then the select board could say, we don't support this and we're not giving site control. I think it's like my house. If my neighbor wants to upgrade my house, you know, they can't come to CPC, say I have a historical house. They'll come to CPC, they don't have my approval, so it's a waste of our time without knowing. I would hope if somebody, just like if there's a historical project, it requires historical support. I would hope that if there was a project on the town building, they would go to the select board before. And again, I'm not talking about any specific project,
Yeah.
just is in general. You know, I think about South Union, like work that was done at Flag School, you know, it was done, the select board supported that. So I would hope before an application came to us that the person would make sure that it's viable, that the select board who has control of that building is gonna support it. Otherwise, you're gonna go to town meeting, we could possibly say yes. I personally would want that question answered before I brought it to town meeting.
But the way I see it is we recommend money to be appropriated, right? And the select board is the executive authority and they get to determine if the funds are spent. So in that case, you know, let's just say, going back to the idea of the dog park, town meeting votes to approve it. If the select board doesn't spend those funds or doesn't approve site control at that point.
They don't have control of the funds, correct? The select board, we appropriate the funds, not select board. So if town meeting,
Well, town treasurer.
You distribute.
well, we distribute the funds, right?
Yeah.
Select board doesn't have a say.
But if, in your scenario, you have the project approved and they say, no, we're not doing that, the funds never get transferred. They're not doing it. But
And then I think if that was the case, then they would be accountable to the town meeting voters. Why didn't you approve that, you know, why didn't you build that dog park that we approved last year?
If I was town meeting though, I would say, why didn't you go talk to the selectmen before you did this?
Okay.
Again, it's just, it's one of those tough things. Go ahead, Kristen.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but is it not a moot point anyways to have this discussion if Stuart already said it's not gonna be allowable?
I can circle back with the new perspective that you just laid out there, Grant, and get a better definition. So that
Council
everyone,
give an opinion as well. Maybe I'm wrong.
you wouldn't ask for it,
Okay.
so,
I
would just get a better. Cause what you're saying makes common sense, but I don't think it necessarily relates to who has authority to do what, and you can't take authority you don't have.
Yeah.
And I see you seeing it as giving up authority that the
Yeah.
CPC has to review a project, and that makes sense. So it's like sort of saying to the select board, town meeting wants this to be done. And then they can vote no. But where it's surcharge and tax dollars involved in the recommendation, it's a little bit different than a feel good. We'd like this to happen and they don't want it to happen, but we'd like them to know that it's wanted. therefore maybe they would agree.
But I mean, the CPA budget is, we form the CPA. I mean, we come up. It's
I'm
part of
saying
ours,
it's, but it's guided by requirements
Yeah.
of DOR and legislation. So let me just rephrase it and put that perspective out to Stuart and see what he says, what requirements prohibit.
Sure, that'd be great.
Can I present it a different way? I know where you're coming from, Grant, and I appreciate it, but we've just said that if somebody brings forward an open space project, they have to go. We're requiring them to go to open space. If someone brings forth historic, vice versa, same thing with recreation. Doesn't this fall under the same window? If somebody's bringing forth a project for the town, a town facility, wouldn't you expect them to go and take that extra step and talk to whomever? Could be John Parent. I don't know who it could be, but I'm just saying.
Well, this is different, Lisa, because what you're saying, what I heard is if you don't have control, the project's dead in the water. If you don't have if you don't have permission, but in these other cases, it's you get the input
all right,
and
I
then
get
the
it.
CPC can say,
Okay,
yeah, we hear the committee or the owner's input and we're going to go forward anyhow. But I think you're right. If it were to be the way Grant said, I think you still can put in that you want the owner of the property to weigh in.
I guess I'm fine with double checking if you are. I feel like it's a lot of process to go through to get this to town meeting. I feel like that this can even be something that we bring up at the forum, that if you are a private citizen and you have an idea, start now, get that groundswell, go
Yeah.
to the select board, however many times you need to get that support before you put in the application. I don't think that can happen after a town meeting vote and then be forcing that issue, because I feel like that was sort of the perfect example. And like, it's all of our land if it's town land, but as the executive branch, select board is the owner. So I feel like it's not really any different than saying, we want a dog park on this corner of St. Mark's. And if St. Mark's says no, that's theirs. So I feel like we can encourage people to get that support, but I don't think going through the full application process on the town meeting vote is the way to do it.
Kristen, your thoughts? No, geez.
I mean, I definitely see both sides, because I get the kind of sentiment that Grant's going after in terms of not giving kind of that full control on eligible projects to one body. That being said, where I'm at is like, well, there's probably a straight yes or no from Stuart to make the decision for us. Now, if we find out that we have flexibility, maybe we got to revisit the topic.
Okay, that makes sense. You good with that, Grant?
I'm fine with that.
Okay,
Thanks for indulging me.
no, I get exactly where you're coming from. I do. You hate to see something that could be good shot down and then without the citizens having a voice in it. I get it.
Yeah, I think it also democratizes the process more by allowing sort of the people to have ideas and submit them, and we make the determination of whether or not we want to continue with them. And could be a bad idea or something, but that would be on us to.
Well, just say
Well,
this, it's like
well,
open space. We can't move forward without the select board's approval.
Will
just
you
can't.
check with?
I will.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna keep going. It's 8 o'clock. So, not that I'm cutting it. Did you have more to say? I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying we can't. There are many that we would have liked to that we brought forth to the select board. And they just say no, and that's the end of it, because they have to sign off on land purchases.
I have to step away for 1 to 2 minutes, but keep going. I don't have anything, significant here over the next few sessions. I'll be right back.
Thanks, Kristen. Okay, 2.4 applicants with existing projects. It's a nice 1 paragraph. Did anybody have anything on that?
No.
Oh, I didn't either.
It's a concern that it's 2.4, 2.4.
Oh, look at that.
Good catch.
Good catch, Freddie. 2 points for
I was
Freddie.
waiting to do that.
Go for it.
Yeah, that's funny. Wow. None of us caught that last year. Okay, so we'll make that 2.5 or 2.5, 2.4. Okay, I had nothing on that. That takes us down to 2.5. Just a little bigger section. We'll just kind of go down. Ellen, did you have anything on that?
No.
Okay, Grant,
No,
I didn't either. Freddie, 2.5? Well, it's, no, okay. Okay. We'll keep going. 2.6. So I think we did some edits there already. Yes. I had nothing further, Ellen.
Nope, just that.
Okay, Grant,
I think you wanna put in, maybe. Select board,
for what?
town-owned property, or do you not wanna do that? Just leave it in the other area? It has its own section, so ignore that.
Yeah, we can come back to that depending again, if Stuart says, depending on what Stuart says too.
Right. Sorry, I was
No, no,
getting
no.
ahead of myself.
No,
Thinking that
it's
we
good.
Go down that road.
2.7. Application schedule. So we need to change the filing window under 2.7.1.
so we said, well, we can change it, but earlier we
September-
said September
The
15th.
week of September 15th. Because we didn't know when it was gonna fall on. It could be, the 15th could be a Saturday. So
Could you write exact date in the application?
Well, we could in the application, but for this, I don't know that we're gonna edit this every year. That's why we did a window.
Say exact date in the will be found in the application.
Yeah. Okay,
Well, I think if we set out a process in this document with the dates and deadlines, then it would be. I think it would be useful for someone applying to know what to expect, right?
She's got the week of, but the deadline, the application will have an exact date. Do you want to reference that exact dates can be found in the application or just leave it blank? That too specific?
I would leave it. Okay, well, I'll leave that one up to you guys. I mean, September 15th happens to fall on a Monday this year. So I think it gives us a window if in this anyway. We leave it as the week of, and you're right, Betty, maybe in the application, we put right in the application the day.
So the week of September 15th, if it's a Monday, that's 16th, 17th, 18th, no. You probably want it. You don't want it going to the 20th.
What we were trying to do in this was keep it general that we don't have to every year keep updating it, that it can be a standard. But it's whatever,
Put the
Does the day
standard,
of the
but
week that the application is due matter? Like, if you're the applicant, would you be submitting on a Saturday versus a Friday, like? Does it matter for the applicant? This is just our deadline, right? So we could just say the deadline is the deadline.
So wouldn't it make sense to, if you want it to be like the middle of September, and if you say September 15th, and let's say that falls on a Sunday, just do it the way they do tax returns. You know, it's it's the next day.
we'll have to go back and change it, Grant. Earlier in the document, we said week of September 15th somewhere.
Okay,
Yeah, week of September 15th, so
so
just put September 15th,
okay,
that's fine.
well, I think we made a lot of changes, so we'll probably have to go back and double check things later as well, right?
Okay. Trying to make a note of that, to change the week of to September 15th and just leave it as the 15th.
Yes.
I just, at some point, this is more administrative note for us to keep in mind, but I think it's really important that we have a discussion when we finalize this with the select board. Only because I've heard at least a couple during multiple meetings kind of challenge or borderline, mock, I guess, or really challenge the validity of our deadlines or the need to have one. So we can't have that, right? We got to be lockstep, and we need them to support the fact that we have deadlines and why we have deadlines, and just to avoid that, because that just kind of it doesn't make our committee look so good if the Board of Selectmen, or excuse me, the select board are kind of questioning our guidelines.
I don't know about that.
You don't think we should discuss it with them? Because
You can,
No.
I wouldn't,
No. Well, I mean,
I would suggest that this is under your authority.
Yeah.
And if they have an issue with the commission, I mean, if you want to go in and have a conversation, but I wouldn't like give them,
The ability to give input.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
are you looking for them, Kristen, to edit our handbook and give us their
No.
thoughts on our handbook?
No, I guess, again, that's why we can table it for another time, and I can find the instances probably where, someone mentioned potentially having filed an application, but they knew they missed the deadline, and the following comments were, something to the effect of, well, that's ridiculous, and let me take that up, or something along those lines.
Well,
but you can't control what
Yeah.
another board says or does or thinks.
yeah, I mean, the select board have deadlines that they stand by as well, and so if somebody misses the deadline, it's, I don't know.
And then what
Yeah.
happens when we're 2 minutes before town meeting, coming up with warrant articles and the warrant's going to print, who do they get mad at?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need to stick to our deadlines and, that's my 2 cents.
Okay, again, I was just throwing it out there for consideration. Let's move on the guidelines.
Okay, 2.7.2, any comments, questions?
So I was, as I said, I was just jotting down track changes before this meeting, so I had recommended putting whatever the determination and eligibility deadline is here as well,
Okay,
if we do.
absolutely.
So we said week of October, or I guess. we
We're
could
doing
figure out
October 15th now, so.
October 15th, okay.
Yeah.
All right, what should I write?
Which one are you on, 7.2?
2.7.2,
CPC internal review,
You're doing that in October?
well, if the deadline is September 15th. I thought we talked about first week in October
first week in October,
as a deadline.
for our internal review,
And determination of eligibility.
correct? That's what we talked about earlier,
First week.
first week.
It's not October 15th.
No, we didn't say October. Did we say October 15th? I don't think so.
Sorry, I thought I heard that. Am I mishearing?
I think I heard that too, but yeah,
Okay,
I thought I just heard it now.
by me?
No.
Oh.
Grant.
no, Lisa.
Oh, I
heard it
said
from Lisa.
October 15th.
Okay, so the first
I
week of
misspoke, that's
October is
I
fine.
said the first week of October.
First week of October is good. Maybe I'm getting,
I thought I said the first week, but maybe I misspoke.
So the CPC will determine, again, I could fix the language, but CPC will determine eligibility of the
project.
project by the first week in October.
Yes,
Do you wanna, I mean, you could have I just wanna say this. You could have an illness, a lack of quorum. Do you want to say aims,
Yeah,
something less than, so that somebody can't
Well-
shake their fist at you, you didn't do it by the
my
same.
only concern is if you say Ames, then somebody on the other side, the flip side of that coin could say. You don't say specifically that you shoot for October 1st, but now it's the 15th and I want to come in with a project and.
That's the eligibility. You've already got the application. You're reviewing it. I just don't wanna see you not be able to meet your requirements because you have somebody sick
Okay.
or something.
Why don't we just add, will determine, because I agree, as soon as you put aims in it, it does make everything start to seem squishy. But then we can just put, pending, no, just.
You know what, just leave it
I
that
would
way,
just
and if you
leave
have
it.
an emergency,
It
oh
is
well.
what it is.
Pending no unforeseen circumstances such as e.g., unable to get quorum or something. Just put in some sort of placeholder to cover ourselves.
And maybe we just say that at the end, like the CPC has the right to, to change, because I think, I don't think this is binding for us,
No,
right?
it's
This is
not a
just a
bylaw.
guide, so
It's a
maybe,
handbook.
I think the more broad we make it for us, the more leeway we have. But also we can come down and say like, nope, this is the deadline because we're the ones who make rules. So I wouldn't want to like handcuff us to certain things that we put in here and like die in the details, because that's what happened to me in the ZBA. I never got it out. Because there's exceptions for everything, but if we have an asterisk at the end that says we hold the ability to, whatever, change dates, based on our authority or outlook, whatever.
So What if we just add unless due to unforeseen circumstances? Well,
I think,
again,
I think.
I was the one who brought it up. I would say leave it as will and then do an asterisk at the end.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
All deadlines are up to the CPC's availability, not project components. Or should be
And-
considered as a deadline.
okay,
Does it
Everybody
make
good?
sense? Does it make sense that if the goal of putting in some guidelines and some structure is to avoid situations which you guys have had to deal with in the past? Does it make sense that if you have a deadline of September 15th, that you just set the next deadline, the eligibility of the project by October 15th? Is that too late? Or if not, just to put in something that is, this to me seems like with, a few of the options, and while I understand them, it's just not making it as crisp as it possibly could be, personally, I think.
We'd say like by October 10th, and then if we
fine,
do it by October 6th, we're good.
Okay.
Is
that's fine, that's fine. Let's do by October 10th.
that better, Claire?
Yeah, it is. I don't know how many more deadlines that are gonna be listed, but the more that they can be consistent in terms of a specific number, I just think it makes it cleaner.
Okay,
Yeah, and I think once we finish going through this, we can, as I said earlier, make a table of the dates so
Yeah.
that people can actually see them all at once.
okay. Is that it for 2.7.2? Okay, 2.7.3. Did anyone have
So-
anything?
May I just ask?
Yeah.
The application comes in on the 15th. Typically, you meet like right after that.
Yeah.
Why would you wait till the 10th to determine eligibility?
To give a window in case something happens, I guess. I didn't,
Well, actually, I brought it up earlier because we didn't determine eligibility on some projects, both this cycle and last cycle, until like
wait,
January, February of the next year. So I thought just having some deadline
We used to
early. Well,
just say eligibility at the first, I would
we
just
talked,
say at the first review meeting.
we talked earlier, if there's a case of can't determine it or you're unsure, give yourself some time, but yeah.
If we
I
had
just
asked
wanted
the
to have some-
question of the coalition, for example.
Right. So I'm just
Yeah.
looking at October 10th. Now you're getting into, you're not even starting talking with the applicants and then you got to schedule them. And now if they have to come back to you, you're already starting to bump up against the holidays and missing the deadline for the,
Well, let's not forget that we're also gonna have, I assume, a special town fall meeting, which will take up our committee's time, who's, for those of us, all of us who are on other committees too, presumably. So I get your point, Freddie, but we also have to remember on the flip side, when we're gonna be getting back into the swing of things with school, we also are gonna have that town meeting, I assume.
okay, so by October 10th, it's a by, not a on
Yeah.
October 10th.
Yeah.
All right. I withdraw my objection.
And if we meet 2 days after the applications come in and
right.
everything's clean and we get it, then that's fine,
And then we're
but
done.
I think what I was thinking is it's mainly for the applicant to know that we will act and not string them along for 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
It doesn't preclude you deciding in September.
No,
Okay,
not at all. Okay,
I'm just having a little anxiety there, guys.
2.7.3.
I'm good.
Nothing on that. 2.7.4. I had added in, 12/31/2025. I just don't want to fall into stressing all of us out, including Freddie, on waiting till the last minute. So, I mean, obviously there's exceptions to every rule, but I think having this in there by 12/31, that we know what's going forward and what's not. And,
that makes sense.
okay, is everybody good with that? Kristen, you good with that?
So does it make sense that you say no later than December 30th? If you don't want to be updating this every year, then you take out 2025.
Yeah,
That's a good point. Okay. That's fine.
31st,
Yeah, I'd leave it at 31st. You're not gonna meet on the 31st, but you never know what you never know.
And I think,
So take out the award of the grant request, you do not award.
The recommendation,
A recommendation,
wait, sorry, what?
and so the next sentence is, after the 1231 grant, it says the award of the grant request.
Okay.
It's not an award, it's a recommendation.
to recommend to town meeting. The project.
Well, it says in the last paragraph, the last sentence,
On resolution, the committee will
Yeah.
vote.
you're saying the same thing over again. CPC votes to determine the grant, the committee will draft an article for town meeting.
Can't we just end it at December 31st?
I agree, and then just take out the rest of that sentence. It says the same thing,
Okay,
and it's just so it's if the committee votes, we want to add if back in grant.
Oh, I missed, okay, I was like, what's
No, it's
going on?
Keep
Yeah.
in mind that
Okay.
the less people have to read, the better.
I got you, Claire.
Just need to recommend or not recommend.
Oh, to recommend or not recommend, yeah.
Also, sorry, in the first sentence of 2.7.4, the committee will conduct a vote to recommend or not recommend the project.
can you,
Yeah.
in the sentence that starts with the draft? I think you need to be clear
That the project.
Say that again, Freddie.
in the paragraph about the draft warrant article, 7.4 to
Yeah.
7.4. It is not the applicant's warrant article, and it's up to the select board and advisory to invite the CPC to their meeting, and then the CPC invites the applicant. This is a big deal because you can't have the applicant, which is the CPC, you can't have the project proponent going in and discussing a project that could be very different than what the CPC is.
So are you just saying that the select board may ask for the CPC and the applicant
Yes.
to appear? Okay, so grant under down. For the app, sorry, I don't know, I want to point at the screen here,
Yes,
right here,
okay.
for the CPC and the applicant.
Well, I don't even know that it's, I just want to be clear that it's, the CPC can go without the applicant.
How about and the applicant if requested?
The CPC, if
I
the
know, we
applicant,
don't
if the
need it, but-
CPC request. The applicant should be prepared at the CPC's request to attend these meetings
All right,
with the CPC. I don't know how to say it better.
Yeah,
Cool.
so the select board may ask
Important.
CPC to appear at a meeting to discuss the grant request, semicolon. It is recommended that the applicant be prepared to attend with the CPC if requested.
By the CPC.
By the CPC, yeah.
I'm gonna see what we can get through on this in like
Okay.
the next 15 minutes. We have a lot of other stuff to go over. And I don't wanna get bogged down if we have to come back and finish this at a Zoom meeting even. I just
Yeah.
wanna, there's just too many other things we have to go through tonight, and it's almost 8:30 already. So, okay,
I agree.
again, that's not to stop anybody from commenting. I just wanted to say that there's other things that we need to do.
Yeah, there's on the top, I think.
Okay. So are we good with 2.7.4? I'm hearing no, okay. 2.8, grant funding award.
So are we using grant funding language? Sorry.
Yeah, do we want to call it a grant?
For many years, I was told it's not a grant, but then when you read the IGR, they refer to it as
It's
a
a
grant, but you know, over and over again, it's, you know, people think of grant, they just get the money at the end. And it's not how, you know, like after town meeting, they're looking for the whole bucket of money, and it doesn't work that way, so. You guys, why don't you consider this and have that for next meeting? Because it's in here throughout, and then just think about it. And what the other terminology was, but I was drilled into me, don't call it a grant. Because of people's perception, not because of what the IGR calls it. So in line with Lisa's concern about time.
Well, I mean, if it's
Think
something
about
we
it.
can iron out now, I kind of. Like I said, if we can do it in 15 minutes if we don't get to the rest of it, but we get this piece done. Unless everybody wants to think about it, but.
Can we
uh,
just change everywhere it says grant to project?
Well, I think it's kind of connected to the grant agreement part, which is
It
next,
is,
which I
for
also had a question about.
non-municipal and, yeah,
It's a big change throughout the document. I think you have grant in there a lot.
a lot.
And my alarm's been going off.
Okay.
Fingernails on the
Well,
blackboard.
what else would you call it, Freddie?
I think we call it, I think that's what the IGR does. I think what I did up to this point when someone raised it, I've just been thinking I gotta get used to it.
Do we put a definition of grant in here then, if. You know, what our expectation of a grant is?
Why can't you just say project funding award?
Well, I think this is connected to the grant agreement section, which
Yeah.
is next, which
Right.
I had a question about, are we doing that? Because I know that we,
Well, I had added, you'll see non-municipal, because that's the only ones we can really do the grant. Agreements with,
Okay.
technically.
But you could call that a project funding grant agreement. That's what I was saying. Why not think about it for the next meeting?
Okay,
See how.
because we're, again, thinking ahead to the next meeting. The goal was to try to get done as much as we could, because. Our next meeting, unless we meet before the forum, is the forum,
Okay, never
where
mind.
this needs to be.
I thought you were
available.
leaving it open for Claire and Brett to weigh
Well,
in.
okay, that's fine, we'll just have to, when we set the dates, we'll just have to set another date, then, that's fine, if everybody wants to think about it. I'm just trying to be,
Yeah, sorry.
no, you're fine, Freddie, it's,
I do think this is important and
I agree, but I just know you're coming up to the end of school and graduations and. Again. Sports ending and again, I'm fine with meeting again, it's just, you know, I'm gone.
Hey, how's this? Why don't we leave the grant funding in there as is throughout, and then you get another go at it for next year?
We can do another meeting, I'm gone from the 6th to the 15th of
Okay.
June, I mean, like,
I think
don't
we're
care
only
about
talking about changing the terminology a little bit, and I would just say, let's make it, you've identified that this is an issue. Let's just make it the best that it can be. And fix it in this version instead of pushing it off.
so Freddie, you would call it project funding instead of grant?
Yeah. But that,
It's fine if there's a problem with grant, you don't want it to be confused with anything else. So it's project funding.
Are we gonna have to do a search?
Let me
grant?
check
I
AI
don't
and see what they say.
Okay,
I think
alright,
there's certain-
search and, he's gonna search and replace grant with project,
except for the grant agreement.
except for the grant agreement, right?
project agreement.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so grant agreement, I don't know that anything really needs to change in there, the only thing you've noticed I added was non-municipal applicants, because as we know, that's. What it is. So did anyone have anything they wanted to change under that? I mean, those were the recommendations of the DOR.
Well, so I guess my question is that, we kind of struggled with the MOU,
So-
grant agreement, so are we actually going to do this going forward? 'Cause
For
even this-
non-municipal,
We will.
that's the
Okay.
plan, and then town council's gonna come in and meet with us over the summer. Or late fall, or
Okay.
however we wanna do it, and we're gonna talk about what we're gonna do for town. Projects, what we can come up with, I know we've done, what was the letter of expectation, Freddie? We kind of come up with that, but I think it'd be good for him to come in and actually explain to all of us what we can, and what we.
Okay.
Can't do, so,
Maybe we can flag that for the future, because I don't think we mentioned letters of expectations, which we do.
right, we did not
Yeah,
in
so,
this,
yeah, okay,
okay.
thanks.
3.2, project requirements. The only thing I had is I highlighted in red again, we need to change the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Committee. To the Board of Trustees of Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
It's also, does it mention the $1 million?
Or cheaper.
Or.
I had it earlier. Getting late.
Freddie,
I don't see it, but it's a requirement.
of requirement of
Insurance
Is there an
for
acronym or
construction
is it-
projects,
Um,
not just construction projects, anyone doing.
HDF.
You look on age.
Well, then you have to be listed as an additionally insured entity.
Board of
The
Trustees.
first
of the Affordable
paragraph?
Housing
Yes.
Trust Fund, sorry.
And proof must be supplied, so I guess I don't understand what that 1 million, if we're requiring it for everything.
You have to carry $1 million insurance,
You're saying that's what you have to carry, okay.
not just on
But
top
I-
of everything else,
it would
but maybe that's
change-
just standard. Doesn't change. I got a guy who
Okay,
clips something, he needs $1 million insurance.
Okay.
But. You know, versus a construction company, $1 million.
okay. Why don't we
That
just
will-
put
when
in,
you
if you're
get
worried
there-
about that, why don't we just put in proof of, go back to the first paragraph, Grant, sorry, under insurance and indemnification. CPA for construction projects that must be added to for general liability coverage. To add the town as just insured, it's related to CPs to acquire all contracts with the same. Someone would, I don't know how. We would add
Just right for the town
for the
requirements.
town requirements, that's
That
perfect.
takes care of it, because $1 million
That's
could
fine.
go up or whatever.
Where, sorry,
Under the first paragraph, Grant, where it says master instructor, general liability insured, add the town as an additional insured entity. And is that where you want it, Freddie?
I'm sorry, I just got lost.
No, go to 3.2.1. You wanted to add
I'm trying to page
as required by,
to extract the. But at the time, as related to this, on the
yes,
chart.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah, as required by the town of Southborough.
so to say their general liability insured to add the town of Southborough. As required,
And other. Requirements per the town of Southborough. Accounting, I don't know what, just leave it alone.
okay,
If, when they get insured, you know, when they,
Yeah.
Okay.
you can't make a payment if they don't have it. so.
Okay. all right,
Does this
anything-
actually? Yeah, I have a question. Does this
ahead,
actually
Glenn.
go under the typical town contract that they have?
yes,
So they have in there, they have a specific section on insurance. So I would imagine it kind of has to jive with what's in the standard town contract.
I'm not sure that every project has a contract,
Freddie, what do you want to do at this second?
just leave it alone.
Okay. Keep going, Grant,
Okay,
sorry,
so 3.2.2, I made the change to the Affordable Housing Trust,
yes.
that's it.
Yes.
Yep.
3.2.3, fund disbursement requests. Anybody have anything on that?
No.
Speak up or forever hold your peace. All right, 3.2.4, crediting the CPA.
First paragraph, we don't always need a sign or a plaque. If, you know, like for the document restoration, we're not going
They're
to,
supposed to have it.
for the document restoration.
The first time we got it done, there's gotta be something somewhere, yeah. The first time
Where
we
do you
had,
put it? For, like, if you're doing the flag, like the restoring a flag or an item or something, we wouldn't put a plaque.
the flag, wherever that's put up, that should
Okay.
have a, you know. There might be cases where individual documents don't have, but if it's housed in a museum or in a special office, there should be a plaque that these documents were restored. Using the generosity of the town of Southborough's citizens through the CPA.
What about if we take out when applicable, or we put in there, you have to have it unless otherwise. What's the word?
Just as appropriate,
Determined.
why don't you just write as appropriate?
Okay,
I don't even, I actually pretty agreed with how you were putting it. Why put any ambiguity in it? Because the second you put as appropriate, then who's deciding if it's appropriate? Why not say this is the expectation, and then if they have a valid reason as to why, you know, it may not be appropriate, let them come to the CPC with that, instead of us feeling like we have to think about every possible exception or leave it too ambiguous.
that makes.
Why can't
that's
you
fine.
also write
That's
as,
fine, it's,
as approved by the CPC at the end? You don't want a tiny little,
True.
you guys should have authority over what signage gets used. You should have that conversation during the application process as well. And you're gonna get there, I'm sure, shortly.
maybe,
Does that work? Approved. Okay.
Yes, okay. 3.2.5. Okay,
No.
Okay. 3.3, closing out projects,
So I think I just wrote it here. It should be in a comment, but oftentimes signage is not included or is not done, so I thought we could mention it's not complete until the signage is up.
correct,
And then also, I don't know if we want to mention in here at all that like we reserve the right to like take the funds back if they're not being. Like, you know, we've done that with,
That's tricky because
it is,
you have to have that documented somewhere and where you're now including the sunset clause. And then you have to go to town council and I think, this is a handbook on the application
Right.
process.
Okay,
I
that's fine.
think
Yeah.
you can leave that out for, that gets into legalities that.
Yeah.
If it comes up, it comes up. You know, nobody's preparing to do a project and not finish it.
okay,
right?
that's fine.
So.
all right, so, that took a
What
lot
just
longer.
happened?
You turned off.
You can turn it off. Put it back on. That took a lot longer than I thought it was going to, so. The rest isn't gonna take a long time, I have it all streamlined down, so.
I
let me
the only
just
one.
get this back on. So I'll just kind of stand here as we do this and, okay, it's back on, thank you. So my suggestion on the application was, we knew that there were issues with it. Was I whacking? Sorry. But my suggestion was going to be to the committee and, I worked with Pete and we use the application we have today. Her and I will work on it and make it fillable with expanded fields. So instead of people having to attach paperwork to the back, they can actually do a full page of what the project is, if they so choose, within the application itself. That's kind of what I envisioned based on some of the comments we heard before. So if the committee's good with that, Katie and I will work on that and we will bring that back to the next meeting and then we can make changes as need be. I mean, and Katie's the guru, so on this, so I would imagine making any changes to it won't be rocket science, like it might be me. So,
But we will
Can I
actually
make a
discuss.
suggestion? That the committee check it out before it goes live. And
oh
try
no,
and
that's what
fill
I'm
it
saying
out.
is we're gonna bring it to the next meeting for the committee to review and we'll make any other changes they want before it's finalized. It won't be finalized.
So I'm not talking about that. I'm saying after you finalize it and you load it up.
Yeah.
Let the committee take it for a test drive,
Of course,
because we know we did that in 2 years. We did it and had people not able to enter information. So
that's fine.
just taking a test drive.
The next meeting, we'll actually be able to discuss the substance of the application and.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, I just, again, I
Yeah, no,
know
I-
this
yeah.
took so long and I just
that
wanted,
makes, yeah,
yeah, I just wanna try to streamline this a little bit and get through it. So if the committee's okay with that. Katie and I will do that. We'll put it in a Dropbox for whenever our next meeting is, and it's, it's only 4 pages. I think it's gonna be a lot shorter of a discussion than the handbook is. So, open projects. So this one,
Wait a second.
Claire said she can't.
Claire says she can't reconnect.
So I think my house just lost power. I don't know if,
Oh,
That's interesting. My power did flicker. That's interesting.
is that why we lost the TV?
you were lost
Maybe.
Katie and
Okay.
Claire might have lost Wi-Fi.
Well, I still have Wi-Fi and we're still recording, but.
Yeah. I still have it on my phone,
Can
but
someone
maybe where
let-
she's at.
Claire, no, she might have lost power or something.
I think she knows she didn't have power.
Can you just text her?
I did, but do you have power?
Okay, well, we're waiting for her to connect. I just wanna. The next item, and I really wanna only focus on this is for the open projects. I'm gonna do this really quickly. I just thought it was important for the committee to see, what's going on. I'm gonna touch on some of them quickly. And it was great because I wasn't sitting for a lot of these projects. So accounting put together the actual warrant articles. So I thought it was great to go back and see. So, okay, so Grant, if you could just pull up what is it, 5.5, I'm trying to think of what I called it in the.
525.
That's it, I think that's what it is. And we only want the front page, I know it's gonna come up sideways and you can flip it.
Yeah.
So, and I just want to touch on a few of these. So I broke it out by ongoing and then the bottom shows signage. So. There you go. Okay, so just so we know, I'm just gonna touch on a few of these. For the, most of these are still ongoing. There's a few. Hello?
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kristen.
Is Claire back yet?
There's back.
Yeah, she's back. So, just to touch on a couple of these, I did speak to the golf course. I got an update. So on the irrigation system, what's going on? So I'll just read it quick. It's 4 bullet points. A PE from Pear Corp is preparing various documents, wetland delineation, design documents, etc., for submission to the Conservation Commission. The intent is to have this project reviewed during a June Conservation Commission meeting. Once approval is obtained, bid documents will be prepared. All of these activities will likely stretch through the end of summer, resulting in construction of the new irrigation system sometime during the fall. So again, I think it's important for us to know what's going on as far as trails, because there's a couple different projects there. Kat is gonna come to our June meeting and she's gonna kind of walk us through where we're at, because there were so many different little funding pieces to it. Freddie, do you want to just touch on Audubon International is ongoing? Do you want to just briefly touch on that, or do you want to? I can just leave it as ongoing.
Yeah, it's in process.
In process. Okay, the CPA GIS mapping of the 7,800, I brought it up on the last planning board agenda. That goes back to an old project where they updated the subdivisions within the GIS. So there have been new subdivisions. When I brought it up when I brought it up at planning board, I said I'd like a plan within 3 months so I could bring it back to us, and then the funds spent within a year. Otherwise, it's gonna come back. So they're already putting a plan together. They're ready to put it out for somebody to update the subdivision since it was last done in.
Can I jump in that the CPC previously agreed to do this an extension, and then, I don't know, COVID and then finding people, it just got delayed again, and now Lisa went and talked with them, they're pushing it forward.
We're just trying to, again, get some of these things taken off. So the invasives, that's an
It's ongoing.
ongoing process on that. That leaves the town clerk's historical records. He's submitting invoices every month, Freddie?
Yes, that's that's within the time frame of the application, so that's not an older.
And then he
project.
said he was almost done. He just needed a bit more money to get a few extra, that came in higher.
No, that was,
We did the contingency. fund.
no, so there were two components to his project. One was some actual work sent out, and that's what he needed, a little extra money that it went over, so he asked for contingency funds for that. And then the other is for somebody who's working weekly in the office that will approve it. So that bill comes in once a month.
So that's just an update of kind of the ongoing things, and we'll get more detail. For the signage, a lot of these projects are still open because it just requires signage. There's not additional work that needs to be done. So the reason I wanted this on here is I wanted, for instance, Kristen to see that there's 4 recreation projects. We're gonna work on getting the signage, and once that's done, the commission, and correct me if I'm wrong, Freddie, the commission needs to sign off on these funds.
We had, well, I don't know if anyone was here. Grant was, the committee had voted on a town accountant had sent in a form, and then the committee worked on a form that using what her information was, but that also works for the committee. And you just need to vote it, and then you need the project proponent, if available, to sign it.
Yeah.
This is the standard. There's deviations to this in certain specific cases, like where a committee's no longer in existence or some other situations. So then they sign off on it, and then it goes to accounting, and then funds will be moved back to the originating account.
So again, it's just a heads up, Kristen, you'll notice that there's the volleyball court, Bay Memorial Playground, the basketball court, and the lights are moving. So once we get the signage, that's the only piece that's waiting on those. And Grant, you'll notice the South Union registration, that was for the historic.
There is a plaque there, so
Yeah,
that
so
might be
that's-
taken
I was
care of.
just
that
wondering
might
about
be
that.
done.
So
Okay,
Well, I
that's-
don't know if, so there's been multiple CPA funded projects at South Union. There is a CPA plaque as well as a National
Just-
Register plaque when you first walk in.
This was for the National Register, I believe, if I went, if you go.
So we look at what they say and see if there's something else. And I do want to say for recreation, I think the prior, I don't know if it was this director or the prior director. Said he had signage, but no one from the CPC checked it, and the concern was that they were putting something up, but it might have been, like a no parking type metal sign, which is not quite appropriate for what you want. And before you return the funds, you want to make sure you get, if it's supposed to be a big plaque, that it gets to be the recognition. I don't know if anyone's gone around to other towns and I've seen huge signs in Newton and Orleans, you see that they're very proud of their CPA funded projects. And I think Southborough should be too, because you've done some amazing ones.
Grant and I had looked.
So I
Yeah.
think that's our next agenda item, actually, is the signage. So, and
Okay.
we'll get to that. So again, the only point in providing you this was, I know there's been a lot of talk from different boards about, CPC not closing out projects and whatnot. My goal, again, it's a goal, is to have the majority of these signage ones completed by the end of August, so we can get them taken care of. So I don't know if anybody has any questions on this. This was just more for information, so everybody could see what's going on and where funds are and where we're at on the projects.
One question I have, I don't see the St. Mark's Tower on here. I hopped out and walked around there to look for a sign. I didn't see one, so I just wanted to see if that's.
So this here is not a sign needed project. It's a open funded. Their funds have been sent. They had reached out back in the day to us asking for what sign we wanted. And I don't think we followed up because we didn't have a sign to return to them.
So is it still required, or are you saying it's not required now?
I think
I
they,
thought it was on a previous list. That's the only reason I had mentioned. I thought
because
we had
it would have
a
been on a previous list because it was open funding, but then they finished the project, so it came off.
Okay.
Is what I'm thinking. That would require a sign, and I think that's a conversation to have with the church, and I think they have always, when I've run into different members, they are very appreciative. So I don't imagine they would not be willing to do so, but
Okay.
I think it's a conversation. I think that was a missed opportunity when they requested it. I forget what the committee was busy on at the time. It just didn't happen.
Okay, any other questions on this? Again, this was just, I wanted to give a brief explanation, but I thought it's good for everybody to know exactly where we're at. Okay. So that leads us next to signage. So I know that Ellen, you and Grant were gonna work on something. So if you guys could find the time to, it could be anything. Again, I'm gonna leave it up to you, but I was thinking even something along the lines of like what historical commission does. Did you see the same signs around town? It might be nice to, but again, I'm gonna leave it up to you guys.
Yeah, we found some examples
Yep.
from the coalition website from
Okay.
other towns, and we talked a little bit about some of the wording that we liked, like giving credit to the citizens of Southborough through the community preservation,
think you
Act or
can
something like.
Find the language that the CPC voted on in the past, which is pretty much not for the CPC getting credit, but it's the citizens of the town of
Exactly,
Southborough
yeah.
through the Community Preservation Act.
For historical, I also have a sense of price. We do PVC signs for the historic house signs. So if you have a historic home, you can get one of those and it's about $75. And then we did a small brown, we did the large National Register ones, which were expensive, but we did a small bronze plaque on the water tower. And that was about 500, I think. So in terms of costs between PVC and
There could be bigger costs for like a big sign on open space that you
Yeah.
post and pose, so.
yeah, that's just for plaques kind of,
Right.
those kind of thing, yeah.
To get a general idea though,
If the company or the person you use can make bigger ones too, like if we can just have a sign.
The
Nice.
bronze one, definitely, because they did the National Register ones, I
Okay.
think. Yeah, I think the PVC one can too, that's just in there in Framingham, I think, so,
Okay.
I believe you can do larger, yeah.
And then you'll probably have to have discussions when you get to it with the project owner, proponent, like the library and the townhouse, but I think for the dollar amount invested, you want kind of a big sign there.
Yeah.
$2 million sign on the townhouse.
$2 million sign, wow, it's gonna be a big one.
$1 million sign in the library.
So if you guys could work on just coming up with some ideas, that would be great,
Okay.
Okay. That takes us to the June public forum. So Ellen, once we decide on the date, hopefully we'll do that tonight. We could update an amazing flyer. I think I might have put this even in the Dropbox later today. I'm not sure, but
You did.
okay, yeah, if we could, again, everybody seemed to like it. Everyone was very receptive to it, so it might just be a quick and easy change on the date. If everybody can look at their calendars. I know in the past, we did it like the first week in June, but I am away the 6th through the 15th. So I was thinking if people had availability the 3rd week in June, the 17th, 18th, or 19th, when does school get out?
17th.
19th is Juneteenth.
Okay, so that leaves us the 17th and the 18th, which I don't have kids, so,
I can't.
What
do
did
the
you say?
17th.
okay,
Grant, one of the dates?
Sorry?
That the 19th is
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth.
So we're looking at the 18th at this point potentially, and I don't know, Ellen, does the 18th potentially work for you?
That should be fine.
That works for me.
Katie, so what works for you?
If I can zoom in, I'll be the only parent at home that night, so.
Okay, that works. Claire, does the 18th of June work for you?
She's fixing a pump.
Oh, she's shaking her head. Yes, we're good.
She's back.
Kristen? Congratulations, Claire. Good
The
job.
18th the 18th is fine.
Okay, and Kristen? Does the 18th work for you? You're muted, sorry.
I don't have my 21 Highland notes in front of me, but that's not
Some
one
of
of the dates.
that's, Kristen, some of that's changed, so
Okay, so I mean, as long as if you don't say we have a conflict, then I'm good.
Okay.
So
So
is that for the forum or for the?
That's for the forum.
Meeting, okay.
that's for the form. So for the meeting, if we are looking to just finalize the application, finalize the handbook, I'm not expecting a long meeting. Second. Right here. Hold on a second. The week before I go is kind of like insane, but let me just go to one. There we go. So like the week of the first week in June. I'm looking here, I'm sorry. I could potentially do the 4th, or if I had to, we could do a Zoom meeting while I'm away. I will have internet. But if it's just for specific things, the handbook, the application, whatnot, I can definitely do. The week of the 9th as well.
I can do the 4th, but I can't do until like 7-ish. Instead of 6:30.
Okay,
I can't do the 4th.
okay. How about the 5th? Well, that's right before I leave. That one's tough.
That works for me.
It
I
does work
can't
for you.
do this.
Okay.
This is hard.
Okay, so let's look at the next week then.
Or what about the 3rd then?
The 3rd. Don't we have to put it in the paper, Freddie?
2 weeks in advance.
2 weeks in advance.
But this is just our
No,
meeting.
it's just a meeting.
Oh, this is our meeting. Yeah, the forum, we're doing the 18th. Sorry, thank you.
I mean, I could also move next week quickly if I need to, but
So the 3rd is a Tuesday. I can't, I have scholarship. I know I wrote school down, I didn't know why. Unless we did it later, so the scholarship committee is presenting, awarding the scholarships at the select board meeting. And at 6 o'clock, but then we do pictures afterwards. I might be able to do 7 on the 3rd. Or we can just go either the 10th, 11th, or 12th. The following week. I'm gone, but I can Zoom, we can do just a Zoom meeting.
I mean, I can do 7 on the 3rd, but I don't know if that's ideal for you.
It would be a little tough, but I mean, again, I'm, if we do a Zoom, I can do the 10th, 11th, or 12th. Can't do any one of those. You may see me sitting out with the mountains as my backdrop, you know what I mean, but that's okay.
What better way to spend your
I
vacation?
can't-
That's
I
okay.
I cannot do the 10th.
What about the 11th or 12th then, Kristen?
I could do the 11th or 12th.
Okay, Grant,
Both work.
I could only do the 11th.
okay, so we're at the 11th. Katie, the 11th?
That works.
Claire, the 11th.
The 11th it is.
Okay, so let me just write this down, the 11th, June 11th. Okay. And then the forum will be the 18th, a week later. Okay. So now that we know the date, Ellen, if you could update the flyer, I will get it in the school backpacks.
Perfect.
And then we can start sharing the flyer as well.
Yep.
What time is it gonna be at?
The meeting on the 11th,
No, the forum.
forum. 6:30, is that what we did last year?
Should be on the flyer.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, right here, 7, it was 7. So why don't we just do 7
Work.
on the 18th?
Yeah, because some people have dinner and kids and.
Okay, so June 11th, we're gonna do, is everybody good at 6:30?
7 would be better.
7's fine.
For dinner and kids.
Dinner
I'll
and
be
kids?
sitting out on the mountain, it's okay. Okay, so
Yeah,
7,
it's
you know,
actually, I have soccer practice, so 7 is actually better too.
Okay.
so it's
so we'll do
nice.
7 for the 18th and 7 for the 11th, okay. And we need to just make sure, Freddie, we can get the public safety building on the 18th.
And the 11th.
The 11th is Zoom,
Zoom on the side.
sorry. Yeah. Unless I zoom in and
Okay.
Kristen wants to chair.
Zoom only
in
is good
person,
for that.
So, okay.
June 18th, we'll get that.
Okay, so that leaves us with the,
So the June 18th is dependent on getting this room,
yes,
just saying.
So
So put
put
that
that-
email out right now.
okay. So we have a couple choices. It's 8:55 right now. We just have to take a vote. Definitely have to do the minutes. Now, I don't know if everybody had a chance to look through our presentation from last year. Did anyone have any major changes to it? Because if you do, then we can do it on the 18th. Because we should just be finalizing the handbook. We could review this on the 18th.
I don't have major changes. I thought it looked good from last year.
Okay, I did make, as you noticed, I did put a red line version in so people could see where we updated the numbers and everything. So it's up to you guys. Do you want to take 10 minutes and go through it now? Or if there's minor changes or we can do it on the 18th and do more extensive changes.
I've got all
I
that.
Some have kids. Go ahead,
I
Kristen.
haven't had a chance, in all honesty, to look at it, and while I doubt I'll have any suggestions, I would like to look at it kind of with what we, some of the bumps we hit this year to think if there's anything we would change. So I would rather just do minutes tonight and do the presentation than, if that's okay with everyone else.
That's fine with me.
That's always okay. It's always okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so, we do have to take one vote. Freddie has talked a lot about the Allen property and, in the past about there's funds that we need to, do you want to touch on it? Do you want me to?
Yeah, so if you recall, when we did the warrant articles for the budget, we put the townhouse bond payment, we reduced it by 30K because we had surplus bond proceeds for the Halloran land project that we put towards it. That project had actually, do you have the number exact right there in front of you? 32,100.
$32,492.44.
So Ben and I talking, it doesn't have signage. Ben and I talking with town treasurer came up instead of keeping the whole 30,000 that we would 32,400 blah blah blah, that we would put 30,000 towards the townhouse bond, leaving, because you can't close out a project that's not complete by returning it all. So we kept the 2,000 just because it was an even number. We don't know how much a sign will cost. Then the goal is to get that sign in as soon as possible, and then at the next town meeting, whether it's the fall or by next annual town meeting, return any remaining funds over. But to do that, you need a vote of the committee with specific language that I worked with Carla, town accountant, to make sure we had it correct. she had reached out to a lawyer at Division of Legal Services. DLS, whatever that means, and so we have the correct language for approval on it, and then we're going to vote it. Lisa will make the motion or read the motion to be made, and then send it to Carla in accounting, and then to the select board as well, because I believe, although it's not our job to know this, but I believe they need to make a like vote because it's bond funds. And they will have your motion to sort of copy. Although instead of saying CPC, say Board of Selectmen.
Everybody okay with that? We've been talking about this for a while. It's been on the agenda for
Yeah.
like the last 4 months. So, will someone make a motion that the Community Preservation Commission authorizes $30,000 in surplus bond proceeds from the Halloran land acquisition, which was approved under Article 27 at the annual town meeting on April 8th, 2018, to be applied to the payment of annual debt service for the historic restoration of the Southborough Townhouse?
So moved.
So moved.
There's a second.
Second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Kristen?
Can we have a brief discussion on this before we take a vote?
Yeah.
And it might be just because I'm kind of new and I need some remedial training on this, but, so this is, and I know there was some information that was sent out, my bad, if it was in there, I didn't really understand it. You're taking money from what was approved for the Halloran property? Is that correct, number one?
So, first of all, money was bonded for the purchase of the purchase and the CR for the Halloran property. And some of the money was for and it was estimated to put the conservation restriction on it, what that would cost to have a holder, they would need an endowment. So we made an estimate, and then after town meeting and the conservation restriction was placed on it, we purchased the property, there was a $32,400
$92.44.
left. So that is bond proceeds. And it has to be treated differently than just regular fund that goes back into the account it came from. So on the request of the town treasurer, we came up with this, that we would just take the 30. Because there was still some outstanding work, but instead of leaving the 32,
$492.44.
thank you. We would take 30,000. We already paid at town meeting, we already, the CPC already reduced the amount required to pay the townhouse bond by $30,000. Because we were going to transfer this money and it needs this vote to do it. So this is just tying up the final knots on what the CPC already voted to do.
So when you say the townhouse bond, can you just, without getting into the weeds, can you just say a sentence or two about that?
Forget what year, there was a bond taken out for close to $2 million to do the restoration on the townhouse. So every year there's a payment due to pay that bond off. So that payment was, I think, something like $138,000 this year. And in the budget that the CPC approved, they put $130,000 towards it. $108,000 and the $30,000 from this was also going towards it.
So we're committed on this townhouse bond, correct?
For 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So we really don't have, I mean, just personally, the reason I'm bringing this up is we've spent a tremendous amount of money on, my opinion, on the townhouse. This was before my time with any of this stuff. But if I understand this correctly, we're committed to doing it. So, you have to go along with it, right?
Correct?
If you don't pay
All right.
your bond payments, then the town's credit rating takes a hit and people won't want to
So
lend.
it's really not an option.
People won't want to lend us money.
That's what I'm saying. we're committed to having to do this.
There's several bonds and at the next meeting, we can go over them all, but, you know, there's bond payments every year. Multiple
Good,
projects.
Thank you.
Okay, Claire? Yes or no for the motion? We're back to the motion again.
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you. Grant?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
Kate? Lisa? Yes, okay.
And
With
Kristen,
Kristen?
And Kristen, I did her first.
Okay.
Yeah, Kristen said yes first.
Yeah.
Okay, so, minutes. So at our last meeting, the February 14th minutes, Freddie updated. The only thing we changed was the application discussion and vote. We put the correct name, which was on the warrant article. It's the Historic Flag School and Historic South Union. And then we had talked about just briefly a partial payment that wasn't misspoken, and she added the last sentence. The committee agreed to send the applicant a letter thanking them for applying at this time, and the application is incomplete and could be resubmitted in the future. So that was just updating what Freddie had asked us to hold from the last meeting. So that was the only other change that we had. So,
make a motion that we approve the minutes of February 14th.
is there a second?
Second,
Okay, any discussion? Hey,
No.
roll call. Kristen,
Yes,
Claire,
yes.
Grant?
Yes.
Ellen,
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
And Lisa. Okay, so we're gonna go to March 11th. That was actually, just so everybody knows, that was copied directly from the select board's approved
Yeah.
minutes. So the only thing I'm gonna change though is our meeting was called to order at 7:22, not 6:57, which was for them. So if we just adjust the time with that one change. Did anybody have anything else?
I have something that we can determine to be nitpicky, but in both the first and third paragraphs, the project is referred to as the townhouse railing. It's the town common railing.
It's kind of important.
It is, I agree. So we'll make that change in the first
So first paragraph,
townhouse, so it's just gonna be the town common, okay. So that. Okay, and it's in the third paragraph, you said.
third
as well?
paragraph, second to last sentence at the beginning.
Got it, okay. Any further discussion? None? Rex, wanna make a,
I would love to make a motion to approve the March 11th minutes
is there a second?
as
Amended.
amended.
Thank you, roll call. Kristen,
yes,
Claire,
Yes,
Grant.
Yes.
Ellen,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Lisa, yes. And the last set we have is for April 24th. And that was just when we met to approve minutes. And I hope I didn't screw that one up.
The minutes of the minutes.
The minutes of the minutes. So I don't know if anybody has any edits or discussion on that. That being said, Grant,
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of April 24th.
is there a second?
second,
Okay, roll call vote. Kristen,
yes,
Claire,
yes.
Grant.
Yes.
Ellen,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Lisa, yes. Okay, and I just want to add, just so everybody knows, I thought we were caught up. I missed the minutes from 3:17. So the only outstanding minutes we have at this point are 3:17 and tonight's meeting. Everything else, town clerk was notified that there was no quorum, or the meeting is canceled, or the minutes have been submitted. So that's just a quick update. And that being said, I have nothing else, and great.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn
Here
as
we go.
the motion taker tonight.
Is there a second?
Second,
Awesome. Roll call. Kristen,
yes.
Claire,
yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Ellen, sorry.
Yes.
Katie.
Yes.
Lisa, yeah. All right, everybody, thank you very much. Grant, thank you very much for running the Zoom.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Grant. Thank you, everybody.
Bye,
Have a good long
Mom.
weekend.
Yeah.
So, Grant, could you forward me the